The Situation Room, where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you today's top stories. Happening now, the Middle East in meltdown. It's 11 p.m. south of Beirut, where Israeli warplanes have struck at the heart of Hezbollah. The guerrilla group keeps firing back with a rocket barrage in northern Israel. Is there any hope for a ceasefire, or does this mean all-out war? We have live reports from the region. Plus, we'll get insights into the spiraling conflict from government insiders in Israel, as well as here in the United States. The former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Secretary of State Lawrence Eagleburger, they're standing by. Also this hour, former CIA operative Valerie Plame Wilson speaking out, accusing Vice President Dick Cheney and others in the administration of shameful conduct. It's 4 p.m. here in Washington, where Wilson and her husband say they expect their new lawsuit against the Bush administration officials to be a tough fight. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah is declaring open war with Israel after Israeli warplanes attacked the militant group's stronghold south of Beirut and hit the building where Nasrallah lives. The Israeli cabinet today gave the green light to continue the assault by land, sea, and air in retaliation for the kidnapping of 2 Israeli soldiers. Hezbollah fighters are on the offensive as well, stepping up rocket attacks on northern Israel. And Israel says one of its gunboats off Lebanon has been lightly damaged by what appears to be a rocket. At least 63 people in Lebanon have been killed in the fighting, and at least 10 Israelis have died, and dozens have been injured in both countries. Thousands of Lebanese are pouring across the border to Syria to try to escape the attacks by Israel. Lebanon's prime minister says he's asked President Bush to press for a ceasefire. And he tells CNN Hezbollah's abduction of those 2 Israeli soldiers was a, quote, tactical mistake. But he says Israel is overreacting right now.
Lebanon should not really be dealt this way. Actually, the retaliation of Israel against the abduction of the two soldiers across the blue line is in no way proportionate. It is disproportionate to what has been done. And this is not the way how to deal with things.
We have reporters standing by throughout the region. Suzanne Malveaux is covering the president's trip in Russia at the G8. John Voss is standing by in northern Israel. Let's go to Beirut first. Alessia Vinci, our man on the scene with the latest from the Lebanese capital. Alessia.
Hello, Wolf. We witnessed an extraordinary succession of events, in rapid succession that is, and that indicating how quickly the conflict here can escalate. First of all, Israeli gunship firing rockets at the headquarters of Hezbollah in the southern part of Beirut, destroying the home and offices of the Hezbollah leader, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah. And moments later, just really moments later, the Sheikh making an appearance on Hezbollah television here, Al-Manar, making an audio tape, basically saying that he was doing fine and declaring all-out war on Israel.
I will not say, if you hit Beirut, we will hit Haifa. I will not say, if you hit the Dahya, the southern district, we will hit Haifa. This equation, you want it to fall, it will fail. We together, you want an open war, we will go to the open war. And we are ready for it. And we are ready for it. War on every level. To Haifa, and believe me, to after Haifa, and to after and beyond Haifa.
At the very end of that audio message, Wolf, Sheikh Nasrallah basically telling his viewers that they had to look out of the windows at the gunship that had hit hard at the heart of Beirut, because that ship would be hit and sunk with all its sailors on board. And guess what? Moments later, the IDF confirmed that what appeared to be a rocket had actually slightly damaged one of the ships off the coast of Beirut. And here in the streets of Beirut, in that section of southern Beirut, we heard celebratory gunfire. So there is definitely here a feeling in the streets of Beirut, in that part of Beirut, of course, that the escalation is really going up really fast, Wolf.
Alessio, the Israelis say what they're trying to do is effectively destroy the military capability of Hezbollah in Lebanon, and that they're methodically trying to go after warehouses, stockpiles of rockets and missiles, ammunition and other equipment. Is there an element of the Lebanese population that's sort of secretly, quietly applauding this effort by the Israelis to weaken Hezbollah?
No, I don't think so. I think that overall, the only thing that really is uniting this chronically divided country is the fact that they're all condemning the Israeli attacks, which is not only targeting Hezbollah headquarters, but also many civilian targets, including bridges, gas stations, fuel stations, as well, of course, as the international airports. We've seen now not just the non-nationals leaving Lebanon, but also many Lebanese. So there is definitely a feeling here that Israel is not just hitting at Hezbollah, but also at the general population, and that is why people here really do not support these kind of actions, even if it is weakening Hezbollah.
All right, Alessio. Alessio is on the scene in Beirut for us. Thank you. As Hezbollah's leader vows to strike again at the Israeli city of Haifa, the target of an unprecedented rocket attack only yesterday, more rockets are raining down on northern Israel. CNN's John Voss is joining us now from the hard-hit town of Nahariya in the northern part of Israel. What's it like there, John?
Hello, Wolf. Well, it is eerily quiet here tonight as many residents are seeking shelter, but 2 more Israeli civilians have been killed after the Israeli military says Hezbollah militants have fired more than 90 Katyusha rockets today, more than 300 in the past 48 hours, in the small farming village of Mount Meron. A woman and her 4-year-old grandson died when their house took a direct hit. More than a dozen Israeli towns and communities have come under attack today. Here in Nahariya, where we are tonight, this city has been hit twice. Here, at least 30 people have been wounded, and the Katyushas have been coming down on the city of Safed. There, a dozen people have been hurt. Residents about 14 miles out from the Lebanon border have been advised by the military to seek protection in bomb shelters and other safe rooms, as well as residents another 30 miles out. They're being advised by the military to stay off the streets and to stay indoors. That includes residents of the city of Haifa, after the port city was hit by 2 Hezbollah rockets on Thursday evening. The Israeli military now saying they were not the regular Katyusha rockets fired by Hezbollah. They had a much longer range. Israeli officials saying those missiles were made in Iran, but so far they've offered no proof of that. Wolf?
How far are you right now from the Lebanese border in Nahariya, John?
We're probably about 10 miles, maybe 6 miles away from the Lebanese border. It's very close. There are communities closer to the border than where we are, and this area basically has sustained some of the more serious attacks over the last 48 hours. Well, this was one of the towns where a woman died on Thursday.
John Voss in Nahariya, northern Israel for us. John, be careful over there. Thank you very much. Now to another front in this Middle East conflict. Hamas militants today blew open a gate on the border between Gaza and Egypt, and that allowed hundreds of Palestinians caught on the other side in Sinai to cross back into Gaza. A tense scene as several Israeli helicopters hovered overhead. The border crossing has been closed for nearly 3 weeks since the kidnapping of that Israeli soldier near Gaza. Israel responded, as you know, with an offensive aimed at trying to recover that soldier, halting Palestinian rocket fire and punishing Hamas, which now controls the Palestinian Authority. But almost 1,000 Palestinians managed to come back into Gaza from Sinai thanks to that hole that the Palestinians created in that wall. President Bush, meanwhile, is in Russia for the G8 summit, watching all of this very carefully. He's working the phones, calling Middle East leaders about this explosion of violence in the Middle East. Let's bring in our CNN White House correspondent, Suzanne Malveaux. She's covering the president in St. Petersburg, Russia. Suzanne, update us on how the president is dealing with this Middle East crisis.
Well, certainly, Wolf. President Bush is here in St. Petersburg, really 2 days before the official opening of the G8 summit. White House officials say to have private and frank discussions with his old friend Vladimir Putin. The reported tension over North Korea, Iran, human rights, all of it, of course, threatening the G8 agenda to overshadow that. But what is key here, what is clear, is that it's the Middle East peace process, the crisis that is really taking center stage. Before Air Force One even touched down, President Bush was on the phone with key allies in the region, the leaders of Egypt and Jordan, not only to thank them for trying to de-escalate the crisis, but also trying to push them to use their influence with Hezbollah to return those Israeli soldiers. President Bush also, of course, calling the Prime Minister of Lebanon, Sonora, to reassure him that he is in touch, the administration in touch with the Israeli government, to try to push them, of course, to exercise some restraint, to protect the innocent, and also to respect Sonora's authority.
My biggest concern is whether or not actions taken will weaken the Sonora government. So the democracy in Lebanon is an important part of laying a foundation for peace in that region. We have worked really hard to get Syria out of Lebanon. UN Resolution 1559 and its follow-up Resolution 1680 were manifestations of the work of the international community to get Syria out of Lebanon. We've always felt that democracy in Lebanon is important for the Lebanese people and is important for the region. So the concern is that any activities by Israel to protect herself will weaken that government, and we have made that, or topple that government, and we've made it clear in our discussions.
And Wolf, White House officials are denying that President Bush is calling for Israel to stop its attacks. White House officials saying that that is really a call to be made by Israeli military officials. Wolf?
Suzanne Malveaux traveling with the president in St. Petersburg, Russia. Thank you. Let's check in with Jack Cafferty. He's got the Cafferty file. Jack.
Thanks, Wolf. There's a new poll out that shows the vast majority of Americans are disgusted with the State of the Union. An AP Ipsos poll shows 67% of us say things in this country are on the wrong track. Only 30% of us say we're headed in the right direction. So who's in charge of the direction? Well, let's see. That'd be President Bush. 63% of us say he's doing a lousy job. Only 36% approve of his performance. Who else is in charge of our direction? Oh, yeah, Congress. They're held in even more contempt than the president. 27% approve of the job Congress is doing. 68% disapprove. Meanwhile, we've got these midterm elections coming up, less than 4 months away now. So who would the public want to take over the reins in Washington? If the elections were held today, 36% would like to see the Republicans in control of Congress. 53% say they want the Democrats in charge. Given the fact that 68% of Americans think Congress is doing a crummy job and both houses of Congress are currently controlled by Republicans, here's the question. Are Republicans in danger of losing control of the Congress in November? Your thoughts, Cafferty File, CNN.com, or go to CNN.com/Cafferty File. Pretty sad state of affairs. 36% of us think the president's doing a good job, Wolf. Only 27% of us think those clowns down the street on the Hill are doing their job well.
All those numbers have been very, very steady now in a lot of polls over these past several months.
Yep, no improvement at all.
Thanks, Jack, very much. Coming up, more new developments in the Middle East crisis. I'll ask the former Secretary of State Lawrence Eagleburger, always outspoken, whether a diplomatic solution is possible. Plus, will the open war, as the Hezbollah leader calls it, have a reverse domino effect in the Middle East? Our Jeff Greenfield looks at the fight to bring democracy to the region, including Iraq. And later, you may have seen her face before. You certainly have if you've seen this program, but you probably haven't heard her voice until now. The former CIA operative, Valerie Plame Wilson, speaking out about the leak that made her famous and about her new lawsuit against the vice president, Karl Rove, and Louis Scooter Libby. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
Interest rates keep climbing, and so are your monthly payments. Refinance your adjustable rate mortgage with LendingTree and save as much as $250 a month. Call 1-800-555-TREE now to lower your monthly payments. When banks compete, you win. Rates are climbing higher, and so are your interest payments. Refinance your adjustable rate mortgage with LendingTree and save up to $3,000 a year. Call 1-800-555-TREE now before rates climb even higher. When banks compete, you win.
Pure Dell. It's an uncomplicated approach to creating more loyal customers. With enterprise database solutions, you can scale as you grow, and they all run on new Dell PowerEdge servers, featuring the reliability of dual-core Intel Xeon processors, which makes everything easy to manage. So you spend less time minding your servers and more time minding the store. That's the direct path to success. That's pure Dell.
At Shell, we're constantly raising the bar, challenging ourselves against the standards set by others. That's why all Shell gasolines not only surpass government standards, they meet top automakers' highest standard.
Larry King tonight. Will rising Mideast violence draw the U.S. into another war? What should the president do? The latest, Larry King Live, CNN tonight, 9 Eastern.
At the door, there's a man who will greet you.
The food is all that you've been dreaming of. The games are hot and they're right for the winning.
I think that I'm in love.
I know a place where you'll find some friends and lose some dough. I know a place where we can go.
I'm not what you would call a do-it-yourselfer. Like that time with my new HD TV. Thankfully, to get high-def programming from Comcast, I didn't have to install anything myself. One call and they did the rest. Now I get all these great HD channels, HD TV on demand, even an HD DVR, all without buying any expensive equipment. They really saved me from myself.
For more local broadcast channels in HD than satellite with no expensive equipment to buy, get Comcast digital cable with HD.
Paul is on now. CNN tonight, 8 Eastern.
Checking some of the new developments in the Middle East. Hezbollah's leader is declaring open war with Israel. Iran's president is expressing support for Lebanon and Syria and is calling on Israel to, quote, end its aggression. Lebanon's prime minister is suggesting that Hezbollah was irresponsible in kidnapping those 2 Israeli soldiers, but he calls Israel's response, quote, disproportionate. And the Pentagon is developing scenarios for evacuating perhaps as many as 25,000 U.S. citizens from Lebanon if necessary. The crisis in the Middle East is a daunting test for a bedrock principle of the Bush administration. Here's our senior analyst, Jeff Greenfield. Jeff?
Wolf, conflicts produce casualties, not just among combatants and civilians, but for hopes, ideas, policies. Right now, one potential casualty of Middle East violence is a root premise of the Bush administration, that the spread of democracy is the best way to increase the prospects for stability and peace in that region. All during the run-up to the Iraq invasion, and ever since, the president has argued that there is an inextricable link between freedom and stability.
We seek the advance of democracy for the most practical of reasons. Because democracies do not support terrorists or threaten the world with weapons of mass murder.
And as freedom advances, heart by heart and nation by nation, America will be more secure and the world more peaceful.
Moreover, prominent neoconservatives had been arguing for years that the replacement of Saddam Hussein by a free Iraqi government would trigger a benevolent reverse domino effect in the region, encouraging regime change in Iran, which would in turn dry up support for Hezbollah and Islamic Jihad, which would in turn increase chances for Middle East peace. Well, there have been exercises in democracy in the region, at least if we define democracy in the narrow sense of relatively free elections. Hezbollah, condemned by the United States as a terrorist organization, ran in the Lebanese elections last year, won about 20% of the seats in parliament, and heads 2 cabinet ministries. But that political power has greatly limited the power of Lebanon's government to disarm Hezbollah, which now holds 2 Israeli soldiers. Iran, which funds and supports Hezbollah, had a free election in June of 2005 and chose as its president Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who has repeatedly denied that the Holocaust ever happened, and who has made what may charitably be described as provocative threats against the very existence of Israel. And in January of this year, Hamas, another organization the U.S. calls a terrorist organization, won a landslide victory in Palestinian parliamentary elections. Hamas claims responsibility for capturing an Israeli soldier, an act which triggered the current outbreak of violence that now threatens to spread to Syria and possibly even Iran. It would, of course, be ludicrous to locate the source of current trouble in the Middle East in the decision to invade Iraq. The Middle East has been at or over the edge of violence for decades. But it's also fair to ask whether the optimism about democracy was well placed. From Germany in the 30s to Yugoslavia 15 years ago, freely elected governments have pursued highly aggressive policies. And given more recent events, the idea that the spread of democracy would inevitably lessen hostility seems to have been severely weakened by events. Wolf?
Jeff Greenfield, thank you very much. Let's talk a little bit more about the exploding tensions in the Middle East and the stakes for the U.S. and the world. For that, we're joined by the former Secretary of State, Lawrence Eagleburger, who's joining us from Charlottesville, Virginia. Mr. Secretary, first of all, what do you make of what Jeff Greenfield just said about democracy maybe backfiring a little bit?
Well, if you take it in the very short terms that he has, it's clear that, you know, these governments have been, these people have been elected by people who are unhappy with the way in which, for instance, Arafat had been running the Palestinian process. The point here, I think, is what the president's talking about, and what I think makes sense, is democracy, when it takes root in that part of the world and begins to flourish, then I think things begin to change. I think it's unfair to charge Bush with a failure here on democracy over these particular elections, particularly in Iran, where you may call it free if you wish, but as you will recall, there were any number of candidates who were refused a place on the ticket. So I think what you have to talk about is democracy as it takes root in this part of the world, not some particular election in which a lot of very unhappy Palestinians, for example, threw out one bunch of crooks for another.
All right. The Israelis are coming under a lot of criticism, including from Europeans, that they're overreacting to the killing and kidnapping of these Israeli soldiers. The French President Jacques Chirac saying, I find honestly, like most Europeans, that the reactions are completely disproportionate. Did Israel overreact?
No. If you want to put it in strictly, again, the narrow context of a couple of soldiers being captured and then the Israelis reacting, I guess you could argue yes. But the fact of the matter is that put it in our terms. If this same sort of thing were happening in the United States, do you think we would be exercising restraint and trying to stop it? As far as I'm concerned, the Israelis have every right to be doing what they're now doing. Whether it will be effective or not is another question. But I think they have a right to defend themselves, and I think they have a right, when other people are attacking them from outside Israel, they have a right to go after them. And finally, I would say, so long as the Iranians can put arms into Hezbollah through Syria, I think we have a continuing problem. And I, for a long time, have felt we had to get much tougher with the Syrians than we are now. It may be that the Iraq issue has made it more difficult for us to get tough, but the Syrians are clearly criminals in this thing.
What does that mean, Mr. Secretary, to get tougher with the Syrians?
Well, what it means to me is that we, for one thing, ought to be putting real pressure on their border with Iraq more than we are, and I think putting economic pressure on them, and frankly, I don't care as well if we go in along with the Israelis and drop a few bombs on them, or at least put it this way. I would not object if the Israelis get tougher with the Syrians. The only danger there is the Israelis, I think, are already being pushed to the limits of how much they can do. But if it requires putting some force into the game with Syria, I would do it. I wouldn't start there, but I think if the Syrians were to understand very clearly that the next step on our part was to get really nasty, that might begin to change some things.
How do you get the Iranians to stop funding and providing military equipment to Hezbollah?
I don't know how you do that, because our ability to limit the Iranians is, to put it mildly, less than much. I do think if you can stop the Iranian flow of support through Syria into Hezbollah, that begins to make a difference. In other words, here the key to some degree in this regard is Syria. If the Iranians can't get the stuff there, then it begins to weaken the Hezbollah, and it limits as well Iran's influence. But I have no idea at this stage how we can do much with regard to Iran unless we are prepared to get much nastier than I think we should be or are at the moment, particularly given the support of our very wonderful and courageous European allies.
Some have suggested that the Bush administration should dispatch some very high-level special envoys to the region to try to cool things down so that an all-out regional war doesn't develop. A Lebanese politician the other day on my Sunday show, Fouad Makhzoumi, suggested that the first President Bush and Bill Clinton get together, for example, and go back and try to ease this crisis. Is this a good idea?
I guess, Wolf, that I have to say is that at this stage, I don't know that I would ask two presidents to do this, but at this stage, if the president wants to select somebody who is well-known and has a great deal of respect in that part of the world to go over there and see what he can do, I won't object, but I must tell you, in fact, I'd support it, I guess, but I would support it largely because it would be a demonstration that the United States is trying to do what it can to cool things there. I do not, however, think that it's going to, in substance, I don't think it's going to make much difference. But as theater, I don't mind doing it.
Lawrence Eagleburger, the former Secretary of State, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure, Wolf.
And still ahead here in the Situation Room, with the Middle East teetering on the brink of war, how high will oil prices surge? We're going to get an update on that. And the warnings for U.S. citizens to get out and stay out of Lebanon. Plus, a very different kind of threat here at home. Wildfires raging in Southern California right now. Are crews battling the blaze making any headway at all? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
How you doing, sir? Orientation, 7th floor. Sign in, please.
If you're a new full-time employee.
We've got the Q4 numbers. Germany looks good.
A people-ready business knows that every person it hires is an investment. With the right software, they'll be ready to hit the ground running from day one.
Driving with confidence starts at Firestone Complete Auto Care. Now through July 29th, get $50 off standard brake service, backed by our 1-year nationwide warranty. From the brake pros since 1926. That's confidence. That's Firestone Complete Auto Care.
Still have an adjustable mortgage? Refinance now to a low fixed rate from Ditech.com. We'll also guarantee you the lowest rate and fee. At Ditech, refinancing is quick and easy, even if your credit is less than perfect. Log on or call 1-800-71-FIX.
The LG TV fridge with Weather Plus, with a 15-inch TV and info screen for family photos and up-to-date weather. We can make your life more organized, but some things never change. Surprising as, streamlined as, innovative as LG. LG, life's good.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
The unexpected, the unforeseen, the unimaginable. It's all possible in the future. CNN explores the next decade to discover tomorrow's solutions to today's issues. From the high cost of a college education to saving for retirement, is America spending now only to pay later? Welcome to the Future, a special series all next week on CNN. Sponsored by learnaboutcoal.org.
Welcome back to the Situation Room. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. The crisis in the Middle East exploding now for a third day. In new attacks, Israel keeps smashing Lebanon's links to the outside world An Israeli warplane struck the stronghold of the Hezbollah militants south of Beirut, another act of retaliation for Hezbollah's capture of 2 Israeli soldiers. Hezbollah's leader is declaring open war with Israel, and its fighters are bombarding northern Israel with more rockets. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations charged today that the longer-range missiles fired at Haifa yesterday were actually made in Iran. And on another front, there's a tense situation unfolding in Gaza. Hamas militants today blew open a border gate into Egypt, allowing hundreds of Palestinians to pass through. The border crossing had been closed for nearly 3 weeks since the kidnapping of an Israeli soldier. Now we want to get a check on the situation in Haifa today, the target of an unprecedented rocket attack yesterday and chilling new threats today. Joining us on the phone from Haifa is the mayor, Yona Yahav. Mr. Mayor, thanks very much for joining us. Give us a little flavor of what it's like to be living, a resident of Haifa, a city of about 300,000 people.
We are not used to be attacked by terrorists, even though that we are experiencing that. In the first Iraqi war, we got hit by 2 missiles. One hit the Haifa Bay zone, and the second hit the mountain. And after so many years, we are again in the same picture. And I must tell you that the Haifa community is very courageous. They didn't do a big fuss out of it. And a day afterwards, the people came back to the routine, and they overcrowded the streets, and we had to announce and we had to ask them to take precautions. And I was now wandering around with my car along the streets of the city, and I must tell you that the city is empty. Usually Friday evening, the restaurants, the cafe houses, the pubs are solid packed, and today they are nearly empty.
Are people being advised to stay in bunkers, to go underground at night?
No, absolutely not. These advices were conveyed to the people who are living up north. But in Haifa, the people are being requested to stay at home, and not more than that.
I know you're in touch with Israeli military authorities. What are they saying about the range of these Hezbollah rockets, 2 of which actually reached Haifa? Do they have the kind of rockets or missiles that could cause damage to your community?
We took in account that the possibility of this kind is possible, and we knew that the Hezbollah people are having in their arsenal kind of missiles which can be shot and get 35 or 45 kilometers, and the laboratory, the ballistic laboratory which checked the missile which hit Stella Maris in Haifa, they found out that it's Iranian made, and the speciality about this rocket was that it contained thousands of small metal bullets which could spread around and hit a very substantial amount of people. This is the reason why the chief command of the city has announced and advised to the people to stay at home, because if the same missile will hit again, it can be very dangerous for people, because it's the same system like a suicide bomber belt.
Yona Yahav is the mayor of Haifa. Mr. Mayor, good luck to you and the residents of Haifa. Thanks very much for joining us.
Shalom.
Thank you very much. And want to inform our viewers, we're trying to get in touch. In fact, we have been in touch with the mayor of Beirut as well. We're hoping to speak with him on the phone at some point, but that's not as easy as it may seem given the current situation unfolding in Beirut, but we'll keep on trying. Meanwhile, military sources are telling CNN the Pentagon is crafting scenarios to evacuate the estimated 25,000 U.S. citizens in Lebanon. While no orders have yet been issued, Americans are asked to remain in direct contact with the U.S. Embassy in Beirut. Here with a little bit more on this developing situation is our internet reporter, Abby Tatton. Abby?
Wolf, a new travel warning has been issued by the Department of State urging U.S. citizens in Lebanon to consider departing the country, a recommendation certainly complicated by those strikes on Beirut's international airport. It does go on to say if you are staying in the country, urging people to register with the U.S. Embassy in Beirut. That way, if the situation develops or worsens, the U.S. Embassy can keep in contact with those U.S. citizens there. It goes on to warn U.S. citizens away from trouble spots, southern Beirut, and also warns of the possibility of anti-U.S. demonstrations in Beirut. At the U.S. Embassy website in Beirut, a further update has been issued just in the last few hours, that also urging people to register, to stay in contact, and also going on to say that the embassy recommends that American citizens remain in a secure location indoors and follow the instructions of local authorities at this time. Wolf.
Abby, thank you. Frederica Whitfield is joining us from the CNN Center in Atlanta with a closer look at some other important stories making news. Fred?
Hello to you, Wolf. Hot and horrible. That's how a spokeswoman is describing conditions for nearly 3,000 firefighters battling wildfires in Southern California. Two major blazes are at this hour said to be within a half-mile of each other, threatening to merge. Hundreds of families are now under evacuation orders. Together, the two fires have burned more than 60,000 acres and are less than 20% contained. Space shuttle astronauts are right now performing a final round of safety checks before heading back to Earth. The latest inspections are designed to look for small nicks and cracks in the shuttle's heat shield that could have been caused by collisions with tiny space particles. A series of earlier tests detected no damage from debris during launch. And police at this hour are investigating a suspicious envelope with white powder that showed up at the New York Times headquarters today. A mailroom employee who opened the envelope is undergoing testing. The envelope is said to have had a Philadelphia postmark and no return address. And oil prices and stock prices are continuing to sprint in opposite directions. A short while ago in New York, benchmark U.S. oil futures closed at just over $77 per barrel, another record. Earlier in the day, the price reached an all-time high of $78.40. Meanwhile, the three major U.S. stock indices fell sharply again today, the third straight day of steep declines. Dow Jones Industrial Average gains for the year have now been almost entirely wiped out. Many analysts expect gas prices to rise sharply over the next 2 weeks. And just a short while ago, the head of one major U.S. energy company reportedly warned U.S. consumers not to expect gas prices to drop after the high demand of the summer passes. Wolf.
Fred, thank you very much. We'll come back to you shortly. Just ahead, Israel targeted by Hezbollah fighters firing right back on Lebanon and the militant group's stronghold. We'll get the former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's take on the escalating violence and how and if it will end. And up next, though, in the current Middle East crisis, do all roads lead to Iran and its radical and unpredictable president? Stay with us. You're in The Situation.
For each of us, there's a moment of discovery. We see that all of life is elemental. And as we marvel at element bonding with element, we soon realize that when you add the human element to the equation, the chemistry changes. We find a way of seeing that gives us a way of touching. Issues, ambitions, lives. The human element. Nothing is more fundamental. Nothing more elemental.
My kids call me the finisher. Finish up in there.
Okay.
Finish your homework?
Yes.
Finish your vegetables. Something I thought I was finished with? Managing my acid reflux disease. I thought it was just bad heartburn, but my doctor said over time, stomach acid was damaging the lining of my esophagus. She prescribed Nexium. Said I needed more than heartburn relief. My esophagus needed repair. One prescription Nexium pill a day not only relieves my heartburn, it healed erosions in my esophagus. So I don't just feel better, I am better. And with the Purple Plus program, I get advice on nutrition, exercise, even ways to save on Nexium. My doctor did say headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain could be side effects of Nexium, and other serious stomach conditions may still exist.
Talk to your doctor about the healing Purple Pill.
I tell him you shouldn't do anything halfway. Let's finish up.
If you're without prescription coverage and can't afford your medication, AstraZeneca may be able to help.
Work with that left hand.
Thanks for the jest, Mom.
simple, everyday moments can be the perfect time to talk to your kids about not smoking, so you don't have to plan a big discussion.
There's a dragonfly on one of the
Just your leg?
A little moment will do just fine.
Looks really
Talk to your kids about not smoking.
Smoking cigarettes could hurt your game too.
They'll listen.
Don't worry, Dad. I won't.
For conversation starters, log on to philipmorrisusa.com.
My name is Ruben Martinez, and this is my story. I'm a hairstylist. I enjoy my clients very much. I say to them things like, you know what? I want to change your look. Since they trust me, they let me do whatever I want. I have arthritis in my fingers. This, after you do it 1,000 times, it hurts a lot. Thank God I found a leaf. It really helps. When I take a leaf, I become a lot more creative because I have no pains. I have clients for 20, 30 years, so I must be doing something right. I must be good.
CNN Tonight at 10, with the Mideast so close to the edge again. Anderson Cooper reports live from Israel as tensions explode. Tanks in Lebanon, rocket attacks in Israel. Anderson Cooper live from the Middle East. CNN Tonight, 10 Eastern.
Welcome back. Iran's president is blasting what he calls the Zionist invasion of Lebanon, and he's expressing support for the Lebanese people and their Syrian allies. Our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider, joining us now with more on the Iranian connection to this current conflict in the Middle East. Bill?
Wolf, the Middle East crisis involves Israel, Lebanon, Hamas, and Hezbollah, and many observers believe Iran. Do all roads lead to Tehran? In Iran, the government refuses to curtail its nuclear program. In Iraq, Iran has ties to Shiite militias. In Israel, Iran is suspected of being a player in the current crisis. The United States says so.
Iran is a principal funder and supporter of Hezbollah.
The Israelis say so.
They want to see a Middle East which is under the influence of Iran.
Israelis believe Hezbollah is trying to transfer the kidnapped Israeli soldiers to Iran. Since the Iraq War, Iran has become a more powerful player in the Middle East.
Iraq is not going to be a major power in any foreseeable future, no matter what happens militarily. So Iran is the dominant power in the Gulf.
Iran's influence in the Middle East has always been limited by the fact that Iranians are not Arabs. They're Persians and Shiites. They find a natural ally in Hezbollah, a radical Shiite group based in Lebanon.
The Iranians have nurtured Hezbollah and helped them put all these rockets in place in Lebanon.
For years, Iranians have tried to assert their leadership of the Palestinian cause.
Iran, since the revolution, since Ayatollah Khomeini, has highlighted the question of Palestine, particularly the question of Jerusalem as a Muslim issue.
That's the danger. It may be working.
Iran, which is not a natural ally and certainly not one that Arabs have held as a model, is finding resonance in this environment.
It's also a big risk for Iran. Hezbollah could end up defeated or weakened. Many Arab governments do not want this war, and they resent the influence of Hezbollah and Iran in provoking it. Wolf?
All right, Bill, good analysis. Thank you very much. Bill Schneider reporting. Coming up, we're keeping tabs on all the latest developments in the Middle East. We're going to have live reports at the top of the hour from across the region. And a major legal and political story here in the United States. The former CIA operative, whose name was leaked to the news media, is now suing the vice president and others. And now you're going to hear from her. She's speaking out. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
At Ford, we're developing new technologies to reduce our country's dependence on foreign oil and help you save money at the pump. We were the first American automaker to offer a hybrid. This year, we'll have 250,000 E85 ethanol vehicles that run on fuel grown in the heartland. And today, Ford Motor Company has a dozen models that get at least 30 miles a gallon. While we can't control the price of gasoline, we're innovating to reduce the need.
30 years in this house. So many memories, huh?
You know what? Those, good to take with you.
Yeah.
See you in a couple of hours.
Bye-bye.
Hello, you two. I'm Nancy. Let me tell you the story of this amazing house.
Century 21.
Let's see, we got Vonage a couple of months ago. It was easy to install. I mean, I'm not really technical, like, at all, and I did it myself. Look, so I just used our old phone, and it costs less, too. It's just $24.99 a month, and that includes voicemail, call waiting, caller ID, and a lot more at no extra charge. So we just love it.
We're not out to change the world, just the way you talk to it. Sign up now and get your first month free. Call 1-800-399-5210. High-speed internet connection required.
10 years after TWA Flight 800 exploded, what are airline passengers not being told? A special 2-hour investigation.
Why are passengers still at risk?
CNN presents No Survivors. Saturday and Sunday night, 7 Eastern.
Middle East on the brink this hour, with Hezbollah's leader declaring what he calls open war on Israel. And in other new developments, Israeli jets destroyed Hezbollah headquarters in Beirut, and an Israeli warship is damaged by what appears to be a rocket the Israelis say was lightly damaged. Also, the Pentagon is developing scenarios for evacuating 25,000 U.S. citizens from Lebanon if necessary. Moving on to some other news, and including a glimpse into the CIA leak controversy from the former operative whose cover was blown. Valerie Plame Wilson spoke out today with tough words for the Bush administration officials she's trying to hold legally responsible for what happened to her. Our Brian Todd is following all of these developments from the newsroom. Brian?
Wolf, a sweeping legal action, as you mentioned, and a dramatic public appearance today by the woman at the heart of that CIA leak scandal.
3 years to the day after a newspaper column revealed her classified identity, we hear former CIA operative Valerie Plame Wilson's voice for the first time.
I and my former CIA colleagues trusted our government to protect us as we did our jobs.
On why she's suing some of the most powerful people in the Bush White House.
That a few reckless individuals within the current administration betrayed that trust has been a grave disappointment to every patriotic American.
Wilson and her husband, former Ambassador Joe Wilson, accuse Vice President Dick Cheney, his former top aide Louis Scooter Libby, Deputy White House Chief of Staff Karl Rove, and 10 unnamed John Does of conspiring to destroy their careers. The suit claims they did this after Joe Wilson wrote an op-ed piece questioning President Bush's case for the Iraq War.
I would much rather be continuing my career as a public servant than be a plaintiff in a lawsuit.
Representatives for Cheney and Libby won't comment on the lawsuit. A spokesman for Rove says, quote, the allegations are absolutely and utterly without merit. Legal experts say the White House will fight hard not to get Cheney and the others deposed, out of concern sensitive information would get out. And they say the Wilsons have other hurdles.
Public officials come with a number of immunities and privileges that apply to their official conduct. You can lose those if you engage in unlawful conduct or you act with malicious intent. But it's a tough thing to prove.
Tough to prove, tough to win damages, even if they do prove a conspiracy, according to our experts. As for other legal matters involving these defendants, the Wilsons' attorneys say the prosecutor's decision not to indict Karl Rove played no part in this, and they say they don't want to interfere in the criminal case against Scooter Libby. Wolf?
Brian Todd, thanks very much. You never know where these lawsuits are going to wind up. Just remember what happened to Bill Clinton when he faced a lawsuit as well. Up next, with the Middle East boiling over, can Americans get out of the hot spots if they need to? We'll take a closer look at the Pentagon's backup plans. More on our top story. That's coming up. And are Republicans in jeopardy of losing control of Congress in November? Jack Cafferty going through your email. All that coming up.
Interest rates keep climbing, and so are your monthly payments. Refinance your adjustable rate mortgage with LendingTree and save as much as $250 a month. Call 1-800-555-TREE now to lower your monthly payments. When banks compete, you win. Rates are climbing higher, and so are your interest payments. Refinance your adjustable rate mortgage with LendingTree and save up to $3,000 a year. Call 1-800-555-TREE now before rates climb even higher. When banks compete, you win.
A chill in the desert, 11 murders, 40 shootings, sex assault. Who is stalking the desert town of Phoenix?
Nancy Grace, Headline Prime, tonight, 8.
Why experience the difference at DickHanna.com? The reason is simple. We have the car you want at the price you want to pay. Family owned since 1949, our goal is to simply sell for less. We offer the largest selection of new and pre-owned vehicles online at DickHanna.com. With thousands of vehicles available, we have the new or pre-owned vehicle you're searching for at DickHanna.com. Come see us today or visit us online 24/7. Click, buy, and save at DickHanna.com.
Save like never before on America's mattress of choice during the Englander Warehouse clearance sale at Banner Furniture Outlet. We've received special price reductions from Englander, and we're passing the savings on to you, up to 40% off on specially marked Englander mattress sets, like twins starting at $79 each piece and queen pillow tops starting at $3.99. Don't wait, this sale won't last long. Buy it today, enjoy it today during Banner Furniture's Englander Warehouse mattress clearance sale.
Hi, I'm Jim. And I'm Jim. Come see us at Banner Furniture, the big store with hometown service.
Can you tell the difference between these pet medications? They're exactly the same, but these medications cost a lot less. And they're delivered right to my door. That's the 1-800-PET-MEDS difference. Great savings, fast service, free shipping. Order now.
Back pain won't let me enjoy this.
The new Capsaicin Patch. Relief beyond belief because it works fast, is long-lasting, and doctor recommended.
I can't believe how far I've come.
The Capsaicin Patch. Relief beyond belief.
Oregon basketball is long gone, and spring sports have just wrapped up. But Comcast and the U of O are still bringing you coverage of events that you won't find anywhere else. Oregon alum and PGA star Peter Jacobson hosts former Oregon athletics greats at the Legends of Oregon Golf Tournament from the beautiful Broken Top Golf Club in Bend. Oregon sports, exclusively on CNW 14.
Let's get to the truth. It's time for answers.
Lou Dobbs tonight, CNN 6 Eastern.
Here's a look at some of the hot shots coming in from our friends over at the Associated Press in the Middle East. The West Bank, a Palestinian-American scuffles with an Israeli soldier shortly after getting married. The wedding celebration took place during a protest against Israel's West Bank separation barrier. Beirut, a Lebanese woman walks among the rubble after an Israeli air raid took out a bridge. Jerusalem, an Israeli cries at the funeral of Israeli soldier Nimrod Cohen. He was killed in Hezbollah's cross-border raid in which 2 other Israeli soldiers were kidnapped. And on the border of Lebanon and Syria, a massive traffic jam as people try to flee Lebanon. Some of today's hot shots, pictures often worth 1,000 words. Let's go to CNN's Frederica Whitfield. She's joining us with another close look at some other stories making news. Fred?
Hello again, Wolf. UN diplomats are at this hour working to hammer out differences over a Security Council resolution on North Korean missile testing. The U.S. and Japan are said to be pressing for a vote on a draft resolution calling for mandatory sanctions. Western diplomats say China has threatened to veto that draft. China has joined with Russia in proposing a rival resolution that does not include sanctions. Unrest in Pakistan after the death of a prominent Muslim cleric today. A suicide bomber killed the Shiite cleric outside his home in the southern city of Karachi. After the attack, hundreds of the cleric's youthful supporters rioted, setting fire to a gas station and damaging shops and businesses. Authorities in Karachi say they've deployed extra police and paramilitary patrols at this hour. Back in America now, Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney is taking over an inquiry into a major tunnel project in the state. Earlier this week, a woman was killed when a falling ceiling panel in one tunnel crushed the car she was riding in. Since then, more than 200 problem areas with ceiling bolts affixing the panels have been discovered. And more legal setbacks for gay marriage advocates. In Nebraska, a federal appeals court reinstated a ban on same-sex marriage enacted by voters just 6 years ago. And in Tennessee, the state Supreme Court threw out an attempt to block a ballot initiative asking voters to outlaw gay marriage. Wolf.
Fred, thank you. Still to come here in the Situation Room, the former Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, on his nation's new offensive against Hezbollah as it fights to get its captured soldiers back. And here in the United States, the political battle for control of Congress. Are Republicans poised for defeat this fall? That's Jack Cafferty's question. He has your answers. That's coming up.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win.
When you refinance at LendingTree.com, you can save up to $200 a month with a lower rate. Just think what you can do with the money. When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com.
This is one way to find out what your home is worth. Or simply go to housevalues.com. Find out what your home is worth free at housevalues.com. For your free home value report, go to housevalues.com.
I'm Paul McWaney, and this is my story. I've been playing the bass since I was 16 years old, and I noticed when I'd be practicing and playing rehearsals, I'd start stiffing up, and I was like, what is this? I ended up going to the doctor, and turns out that I have arthritis. My friend from softball told me about Aleve, and I tried it out, and it works great. It loosens it up, takes the pain away, and enables me to play. Aleve helps me play, but it doesn't make me a better player.
In this modern world of super technology, you know what really gets under my skin? When a wireless network. So I switched to Singular's all-over network, the network with the fewest drop calls. Testing from the leading independent research company proves it. So if you keep, then get Singular.
Singular, with the fewest drop calls, raising the bar.
Your risks are always evolving. Shouldn't your insurance stay in sync? Travelers.
Ditech.com can save you thousands of dollars in closing costs.
With our previous refinances, we ended up paying a lot in closing costs. This time, we went to Ditech, and it was only $395.
Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Oh, Sharon, this stuff won't get rid of the mold in here.
Will it help you forget our address?
There's a better way to deal with your mold problem.
Can you pass me the brush?
Tilex, the mold killer.
Houses are flying off the market. Don't let your perfect home get away. Go to justlisted.com and get free alerts with every listing that's right for you. Justlisted.com, where your next home finds you.
CNN Tonight at 10, with the Mideast so close to the edge again. Anderson Cooper reports live from Israel as tensions explode. Tanks in Lebanon, rocket attacks in Israel. Anderson Cooper live from the Middle East. CNN Tonight, 10 Eastern.
Check back with Jack right now. He's got the Cafferty file. Jack.
Wolf, a new AP Ipsos poll shows 68% of Americans think Congress is doing a lousy job. I'm surprised the number's that low. Given the fact that both houses of Congress are now controlled by Republicans, the question is, are they, Republicans, in jeopardy of losing control of the Congress in November? Here's some of what you've written us. Brian in Galveston, Texas. Even though I'm a conservative at heart, my vote will be against the incumbent, Republican or Democrat. Andrew, Paramus, New Jersey. Congress has surrendered its oversight role and has become a lapdog for the Bush White House. I predict the American people, deeply troubled by the actions of Bush-Cheney, will vote more for reining in an out-of-control White House than vote for the Democratic Party per se. Phil says, no, I don't believe the Republicans will lose control of Congress or the Senate. First off, I think your prejudice makes the polls come out however you want them to. And secondly, I think the big majority of people in this country know George Bush is really doing a good job. Scott writes, the ideal situation would be if the Republicans and Democrats would lose to some common-thinking independents who would lead us in a much-needed new direction and try to build our standing back up in the world. Tom in Gastonia, North Carolina, the clowns that currently inhabit the media are worse than the elected clowns. I'd like to see a poll indicating how disgusted Americans are with the media. I bet the approval numbers would be a single digit. And Rob in Cullen, Louisiana, Jack, I hope the Republicans lose and the Democrats don't win. This weekend on In the Money, this tidy little business program we do, how Audubon envy led to the construction of the nation's interstate highway system, which is turning 50 years old this year. And are we being told the truth about the size of the federal budget deficit? Here's a hint. Probably not. In the Money airs Saturdays at 1, Sundays at 3 Eastern Time, and we request that you be on time and dress appropriately. Wolf.
Jack, thank you. And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you today's top stories. Happening now, a vow of open war. Hezbollah vows war against Israel, saying it will take the fight to Haifa and beyond. Israel is not backing down, bombing the home of Hezbollah's leader and trying to seal off Lebanon from the outside world. Israel wants back 2 Israeli soldiers held captive in Lebanon. But Hezbollah says no matter how long Israel attacks, it will not give back the soldiers. I'll speak with the former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this hour and James Zogby of the Arab American Institute about these escalating tensions. And it's 2 p.m. in California, where 2 wildfires have burned 61,000 acres. Now they're on the verge of a merge, both of these wildfires. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. We're following major new developments today in the growing Middle East crisis. Among the latest, fresh Israeli airstrikes in Lebanon, including again at Beirut's International Airport and at Hezbollah's headquarters in southern Beirut. Shortly afterward, a defiant televised message from the group's leader pledging, quote, open war against Israel. And in an exclusive interview with CNN, Lebanon's prime minister says this should be a wake-up call to address the Israeli-Palestinian conflict once and for all.
Why we are being asked to stop Hezbollah, but at the same time, nobody is putting the necessary pressure on Israel to resolve the problem. I mean, the problem is causing the presence of Hezbollah. Let's get rid of the problem, and Hezbollah won't be there. It will be a political party.
President Bush has been working the phones, talking to the Lebanese Prime Minister Fouad Siniora and other leaders in the region. But the crisis is already shaking the oil markets. Crude oil is at another record high, settling at more than $77 a barrel, and it hit $78 earlier in the day. We're covering all angles of this very fast-moving story with correspondents in all the key locations. CNN's Alessio Vinci is joining us from Beirut. He's watching what's happening there. CNN's John Voss is in northern Israel. Our White House correspondent, Suzanne Malveaux, is in St. Petersburg, Russia, traveling with the president who's at the G8 summit. Our senior Pentagon correspondent, Jamie McIntyre, is looking at contingency plans for the U.S. military. But let's begin in the Lebanese capital, where Israeli airstrikes have occurred once again today. Alessio Vinci has the latest from there. Alessio?
Hello, Wolf. Earlier this evening, we witnessed an extraordinary rapid succession of events that really indicates how quickly the violence here can escalate. First, Israeli gunship hitting hard in the southern outskirts of Beirut, specifically targeting the Hezbollah headquarters led by Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, destroying his home and office and his residence there. No casualties there reported, but certainly heavy damage. Now, moments later, after that attack, he made an audio appearance. Sheikh Nasrallah made an audio appearance saying, first of all, that he was fine, him and his families were fine, and then, as you mentioned, declared all-out war against Israel. He called on his people to resist the attacks against Lebanon and vowing to achieve victory. Here's a portion of what he said.
You wanted war, an open war? It will be an open war. You want your government to change the rule of the game? Let it change. This game will change. Now you know who you're fighting with.
At the end of this taped message that was broadcast live or on tape on not just the Al-Manar television station that belongs to Hezbollah here in Lebanon, but in many other television networks here, the Sheikh Nasrallah made another statement and basically saying that he warned that the Israeli ship that had hit the southern district of Beirut would burn and sink with tens of sailors. And then moments later, we heard some celebratory gunfire shooting in the air in that area of Beirut, and the IDF confirmed that one of its ships that is enforcing a naval blockade off the coast of Beirut had been slightly damaged by what appeared to be a rocket. Now, meanwhile, a later development here, we understand from local television stations, including Lebanese television station, that according to them, according to their sources, Israel now is looking for 4 missing sailors. This is an information that we have been unable to confirm either with the IDF or with our independent sources here in Lebanon, Wolf.
All right, Alessio, we'll stay in touch with you. Stand by. We're going to come back to you. Alessio Vinci joining us from Beirut. Let's go to northern Israel right now. John Voss is watching a very, very tense situation from his vantage point only a few miles from the Lebanese border in the Israeli town of Nahariya. John?
Hello, Wolf. Normally this town of Nahariya would be buzzing at this time of the evening, 1 o'clock in the morning. It's a holiday town, but essentially this city, like so many others in northern Israel, has been locked down. It is tonight. It has been that way for most of the day after Hezbollah militants fired more than 90 Katyushas today, more than 300 in the past 48 hours. The Israeli military says another 2 Israeli civilians have been killed. A woman and her 4-year-old grandson died when their home took a direct hit in the small farming village of Mount Meron. Now here in this tourist town, there have been another Katyusha attacks, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. Here, 30 people have been wounded, and also in Safed, at least another dozen people have been hurt. Israelis living close to the border, about 14 miles away, have now been advised to take cover in bomb shelters as well as safe rooms in their homes. And about 30 miles away from the border, the military is advising residents there that they should stay off the streets. They should go home, avoid windows and open doors, and that includes residents of the coastal city of Haifa. The Israeli military now saying that the 2 rockets which hit Haifa on Thursday evening were not the usual Katyusha rockets fired by Hezbollah. They had a much longer range. Israeli officials saying those missiles were manufactured in Iran, but so far there has been no proof of that given by the Israelis, Wolf.
John Voss, I want you to stand by as well because we're going to be checking back with you throughout these coming hours. John Voss in Nahariya. Meanwhile, the border between Gaza and Egypt is open again. Hamas militants used rocket-propelled grenades to blast open a gate that had been locked since the start of the current crisis more than 2 weeks ago. CNN's Ben Wiedemann, who's on the scene for us in Gaza, reports hundreds, perhaps thousands of people streaming back into Gaza from Egypt. We're going to go to him in our 7 p.m. Eastern hour. President Bush, meanwhile, is working the phones in urgent talks with regional leaders. He's in St. Petersburg, Russia right now for the G8 summit. Let's bring in our White House correspondent, Suzanne Malveaux. She's traveling with the president. Update our viewers, Suzanne, how the Bush White House is dealing with this crisis.
Well, very interesting. President Bush was all set to put Iran and North Korea at the top of the G8 agenda, but the person who actually sets that agenda, the host, Vladimir Putin, officially announcing today that there is a new priority, and that is the Middle East crisis.
President Bush arrived in St. Petersburg 2 days ahead of the G8 summit to have what aides call private and frank discussions with someone he calls an old friend, Russian President Vladimir Putin. But it's the crisis in the Middle East that has now taken center stage. Before his arrival aboard Air Force One, Mr. Bush called key allies in the region, the leaders of Egypt and Jordan, to press them to use their influence with Hezbollah to get the Israeli soldiers released. He also called Lebanon's Prime Minister, Fouad Senoura, to reiterate his belief that Israel has the right to protect itself against Hezbollah, but should try to spare the innocent and respect Senoura's authority.
Whatever Israel does, though, should not weaken the Senoura government in Lebanon.
White House officials denied that Mr. Bush was calling for Israel to stop its attacks, saying that was a matter for the Israeli military to decide. But Mr. Bush has not spoken to Israel's Prime Minister, Ehud Olmert. That task has been left to his Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice.
We just continue to ask that the Israelis exercise restraint, be concerned about civilian casualties, be concerned, of course, about civilian infrastructure, and that's been the nature of our conversations.
And Wolf, it is really far from clear whether or not the leaders at the G8 summit are going to be able to come up with some sort of unified response to the Middle East crisis. Already you have a split, not surprising. Russia and France saying they believe Israel has overreacted. United States and Germany disagreeing. Wolf?
Suzanne, thanks very much. On one side of the conflict is Israel. The other side right now, Hezbollah in Lebanon. But might innocent Americans somehow be caught in the middle? The State Department is telling Americans to leave Lebanon if they can. Our senior Pentagon correspondent, Jamie McIntyre, has details. Jamie?
Well, Wolf, at this point, the open warfare between Israel and Hezbollah has essentially trapped some 25,000 Americans in Lebanon.
The State Department says all U.S. citizens except essential embassy personnel should consider leaving what has become a war zone. The American embassy in Beirut has put an authorized departure policy in effect, but with no safe way out, for now, most Americans are on their own.
Conditions permitting, we have urged American citizens to consider leaving Lebanon. But again, they have to take into account their own personal security. That's going to be a decision that they have to make themselves.
With Beirut's main airport cratered by Israeli bombs, the usual manner of evacuating Americans, chartering commercial aircraft, is not an option. Although under a brief ceasefire, Israel allowed Lebanon to move 5 airliners to safety and also permitted the former Lebanese prime minister's private plane to take off before the runway was bombed again. Pentagon sources say the U.S. military is considering a number of options if an emergency evacuation is ordered. The nearest U.S. ships with helicopters are part of a 7-ship task force headed by the Iwo Jima, which is in the Red Sea. It would take several days, though, for it to move back through the Suez Canal to the Mediterranean, because it would first have to collect many of its 2,200 Marines who are ashore in Jordan on an exercise. Another option would be to move helicopters to the nearby island of Cyprus, roughly 150 miles from Beirut, close enough for unrefueled helicopter runs back and forth.
And Wolf, it's also possible the U.S. may work out another ceasefire to be able to use the Beirut International Airport, given its close ties with Israel. But Wolf, whatever the United States does, it won't be entirely in secret. The last thing they want to do is send in evacuation helicopters that could be confused with Israeli helicopter gunships. Wolf?
All right, Jamie, thank you very much. Jamie McIntyre reporting. State Department, by the way, has set up 2 phone numbers for American citizens in Lebanon or for families who have children there. They can get information on security, ways to leave, and other matters. The overseas number is this, 01202-501-4444. Here in the United States, there's another number, and let me read it to you, 888-407-4747. State Department says these hotlines concern trying to get people out of Lebanon, and they are not for checking on people's well-being. But those are the numbers in case you need to know. Let's check in with Jack Cafferty. He's in New York with the Cafferty File. Jack.
Thanks, Wolf. A couple of things to think about as conditions in the Middle East continue to deteriorate and the whole situation gets a little scarier as we go along. Israel says the long-range missiles fired at Haifa from Lebanon were made in Iran. Hezbollah guerrillas have denied firing those 2 rockets at Haifa, but nevertheless, Israel is blaming that group for the attack. In the past, Hezbollah has fired hundreds of the shorter-range Katyusha rockets at Israel. Meanwhile, Iran's president is warning Israel not to attack Syria, another country that has Israel as accused of sponsoring terrorism in the past. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad says if Israel goes after Syria, it will be, quote, equivalent to an attack on the whole Islamic world, unquote, and Israel will face a crushing response. So here's the question. What does it mean if Iran is supplying missiles to Hezbollah? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf?
Jack, thank you. And if you want a sneak preview, by the way, of Jack's questions, plus an early read on the day's political news and what's ahead of the Situation Room, sign up for our daily email alert. Just go to CNN.com/Situation Room. Up ahead, the Middle East crisis about to hit home for all of us. Crude oil prices spiking to a record high. CNN's Ali Velshi standing by with the latest on that front. Also, the former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He'll join us in the Situation Room to talk about the escalating violence. And we'll also hear from James Zogby of the Arab American Institute. Complete coverage of the Middle East crisis. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
oversee a complex shipping industry. At Franklin Templeton, we saw a chance to invest in a logistics company whose technology streamlined shipping operations. A smart move for our fund shareholders. Perspective like this has made Franklin a leading equity manager. Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective. Ask your advisor for a prospectus with investment goals, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing.
The word is aardvark.
Aardvark. A-R.
Come on, focus. You know this one. It's the first word in the dictionary.
A-A-R-D-V-A-R-K. Aardvark.
Correct.
All right.
With Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats, your child won't be distracted by mid-morning hunger. Because with 8 filling layers of sweet, crunchy whole grain fiber...
8 layers. How about it?
It's the breakfast that stays with you.
Here we go. I'm sorry, Jake was next.
Yeah, well, we're next now.
Well, I washed all the dishes and I did a lot more. I even bought the dinner at the grocery store. And now, Mom, you're buying the key next door. This little girl's gonna rock it. I left some biscuits for the pup. I put fresh water in it.
A chill in the desert, 11 murders, 40 shootings, sex assaults. Who is stalking the desert town of Phoenix?
Nancy Grace, Headline Prime, tonight, 80.
Bring the entire family down to Pioneer Courthouse Square this summer to watch great movies in the heart of downtown Portland. The movies will be shown on Friday evenings, July 21st through August 18th. Food and beverages will be available on site for purchase, and the movies begin at dusk. Bring low-back chairs or bean bags and truly make the square your living room. Admission is free, and seating is on a first-come, first-served basis. For more information, please visit www.pioneercourthousesquare.org. Flicks on the Bricks Outdoor Movie Series is presented by Smart Park and supported by these sponsors.
Sports are great for a kid's body. Steroids aren't. They can ruin tendons in legs and arms. Steroids can stunt bone growth and increase the chances of liver cancer, heart attack, and stroke. Steroids don't make great athletes. They destroy them. Talk to your kids. Need help? Get help. Visit drugfree.org.
Will Mideast violence draw the U.S. into another war? Larry King Live, CNN 9 Eastern.
Welcome back. We have the latest developments on the escalating tensions in the Middle East right now. Hezbollah vowing an all-out war against Israel, saying it will take the fight to Haifa and beyond. Israel is not backing down, bombing the home of Hezbollah's leader and trying to seal off Lebanon from the outside world. Meanwhile, Lebanon's prime minister today says Hezbollah's decision to kidnap 2 Israeli soldiers was irresponsible, but the Lebanese prime minister also calling Israel's response disproportionate. The Associated Press reports Israel is saying one of its warships was hit by an unmanned Hezbollah aircraft rigged with explosives. There are conflicting reports on the severity of the damage. Pentagon is drawing up plans for a possible evacuation of as many as 25,000 U.S. citizens living in Lebanon. Perhaps forgotten in the conflict are the many innocent civilians caught up in the crossfire. How might Israel ensure they are not unduly punished? And joining us now is the former Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. He now leads the opposition in the Knesset. Prime Minister, thanks very much for coming in on such a hectic day. This is a little war right now, but is it about to become a bigger war?
Well, it has to be a successful battle to stop the rocketing of Israeli towns and cities by the criminal Hezbollah terrorist organization. I think that if we don't stop it, then Hezbollah will arm itself with still longer-range missiles and deadlier projectiles to wreak more havoc and more death on innocent civilians. And coincidentally, it will also vitiate completely Lebanon's sovereignty. Lebanon is not now a sovereign country. It has a state within a state, a criminal organization that is controlled and directed by 2 foreign states, Iran and Syria. And Hezbollah is doing whatever it pleases on Lebanon's soil. So destroying Hezbollah's fighting ability, which is what UN Resolution 1559 stipulated when Israel left Lebanon, I think is important for our security and for the hopes of millions of Lebanese that they'll regain their country.
Since the Lebanese government is incapable or unwilling to take on Hezbollah, as you point out right now, is that Israel's military objective right now, to destroy Hezbollah's military capability?
I think it should be, and I believe it is. But of course, you'd have to ask that of the government. What we've done in Israel is to close ranks behind the government when our country is being attacked by these wanton, savage rocket attacks.
Why punish so many innocent people in Lebanon, many of whom may be sympathetic, may be critical themselves of Hezbollah's role in Lebanon? Why go after the innocents in Lebanon who are being punished in effect by some of the Israeli strikes, for example, on the Beirut International Airport?
The Beirut International Airport, like the Damascus International Airport, is a source of conduit for weapons, for material, for weapons, and for other things that Hezbollah has been using, as is the Beirut-Damascus highway. These targets have been hit not to punish Lebanese, but to interdict Hezbollah capabilities. You know, the terrorists are very clever. I mean, as we speak, rockets are being fired by Hezbollah from crowded neighborhoods. What they're doing is targeting civilians in Israel and hiding behind civilians in Lebanon in the hope that they'll purchase immunity. No sane government would give the terrorists such immunity as they rocket our population. But what a responsible government tries to do is try to minimize civilian casualties as we target the terrorists. And this is being done, again, as we speak, by America and Britain and others in Iraq in their battle against terrorism.
Let me interrupt for a moment and read to you what the president of Iran, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, said yesterday. He said, if the occupying regime of Jerusalem attacks Syria, it will be equivalent to an attack on the whole Islamic world, and the regime, namely Israel, will face a crushing response. Do you take a threat like that from the Iranian leader seriously?
Oh, I take all his threats seriously, because when a person says that he is, while denying the Holocaust, is openly saying that he's preparing a new Holocaust by developing atomic bombs, which he says openly he will use against Israel, yes, I take the rantings of a person like that seriously, not because they're sane, but because he may actually mean it. So, yes, I take Iran seriously, but at the same time, I also know that Syria harbors terrorists. Khalid Mashal, the controller of the Hamas terror organization, sits openly in Damascus, and in Damascus there are the Syrian government itself is controlling and directing Hezbollah.
So should the Israeli military go after targets in Syria and or Iran?
I think what we should do is get the international community to press Syria and Iran rather than pressing Israel, which is merely fulfilling UN resolutions. Israel, which vacated Lebanon completely with a promise of a UN resolution that it will not be attacked from Lebanon and that Hezbollah would dismantle there, is merely fulfilling, forcibly trying to fulfill the international resolution that Lebanon has failed to fulfill. So Israel, the last thing the international community should do is press on Israel. It should press on Syria and Iran for condoning this criminal activity in violation of international law and common sense.
One final question. I know you're supporting the position of the Israeli government right now. You're the leader of the opposition. Is this a moment that the Likud should come back into the government and there should be a national unity government encompassing almost all of the major political parties in the Knesset?
There's national unity right now, in the mere fact that I'm here and talking to you and defending the government tells you that we've all closed ranks. I'm not sure that this translates into a political shift, because we're not on the eve of the Six-Day War or the eve of the Yom Kippur War. This is not on that magnitude. There is a need to take forceful action. The government regrettably delayed taking this action for a long time, and the terror forces were emboldened to increase their aggression. But I think right now, I and so many others are supporting the government precisely because it's doing late, but not better late than never. It's doing the right thing. I think that I can fully support this without having a seat around the government table. I can do that from my seat in the Knesset just as well.
Benjamin Netanyahu, the former Prime Minister of Israel, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.
And joining us now is James Zogby, the president of the Arab American Institute, a longtime observer of this region with deep personal roots in Lebanon as well. You were telling me you have a nephew who's sort of stranded we're in Beirut right now?
Stuck in Lebanon because the highway's gone, the airport's gone, and he was just on a Rotary Fellowship to the American University of Beirut, and was about to come home when this hit. Have you heard from him? We've spoken with him, although right now it's difficult because, you know, the cell towers have been bombed, so you can't get cell phone calls in easily. Some areas of the country are okay, but apparently there's not a communications, not an ease in communications right now.
Was it wrong for Hezbollah to go across that line and go into Israel, kill and kidnap those Israeli soldiers?
I think many Lebanese agree that it was wrong. It was provocative and it was reckless. But I agree with the Lebanese Prime Minister that Israel's response to this has been wholly disproportionate in a form of collective punishment. Frankly, Lebanese have seen this time and time again. What happens is that moderate forces end up losing out in a situation like this because anger rules the street. At some point, Israel and the United States have to begin to get it, that these kinds of responses don't end up defeating extremism, they end up fueling the next round of extremists.
What should Israel have done when this very provocative act occurred? How should Israel have responded?
Let's not forget the context in which it occurred. I understand that people are pointing the finger at Iran, but the timing of this, no doubt, had to do with the fact that there was the situation going on in Gaza, and the Arab street throughout the Arab world is inflamed by what is happening in Gaza. And right now, we in the United States have forgotten about it. Our attention is focused to another place.
We haven't totally forgotten. We have Ben Wiedemann, our reporter there, and we're watching the situation.
1.4 million people are under siege and have been under siege now for many, many months. No access or egress, vegetables rotting at the exit points, and medicines are in short supply, etc. In that context, Hezbollah had an opportunity.
In that context, though, there were acts, those rockets coming into Israel from Gaza was clearly a provocative act.
There's been a cycle. There are pathologies on all sides here. There were assassinations of Palestinian leaders. There were the families that were killed, the one on the beach, the one in the home. There were literally scores of Palestinian civilians killed in the period leading up to this, as well as these Qassam rockets. So the cycle is there, the assault on Gaza is there, and Hezbollah takes advantage of that in order to play to the Arab street and say, we defend honor.
Is this a Hezbollah decision in and of itself, or, as so many U.S. officials and Israeli officials and other observers insist, this is really Hezbollah doing the work of Iran, which is trying to change the subject from the pressure on it to because of its nuclear program?
Well, there is no question that Iran and Hezbollah have close ties. There's no question that they're funded, no question that they're armed, and no question that to some extent there may be direction. But there's also a more immediate context here in which Hezbollah found that it could act at this time in the context of what was going on in Gaza and play to Arab support.
So Hamas and Hezbollah, are they now in effect in an alliance?
Well, the alliance is the fact that both are fighting the same enemy. Both are groups that have found common cause and a common timing for their cause. But because they have defined the game doesn't mean we had to play. And when the President of the United States ends up appearing more like a coat holder or a cheerleader instead of someone who can both talk about restraint, act on restraint, and send a mediator who will actually begin to unravel this situation, we're in danger here of having this spin out of control. And let's remember, precisely because Hezbollah and Iran are as close as they are, we happen to be right now in Iran's backyard. We have soldiers at risk in a very volatile region, and we have to be careful here how we operate.
Who could the president be sending to the region right now? There's some suggestion, former President Bill Clinton, former President George Herbert Walker Bush. What do you think?
Someone closer to home to him is James Baker, who's defended him and helped launch his presidency in 2000 to the dismay of some. A skilled negotiator. And let's not forget George Mitchell, who worked wonders in Ireland, produced a brilliant document that could have, if it had been listened to by this administration, helped restore and move us back to the peace process, but it wasn't. I think that there's plenty of great people going around. The problem is this: if the president appoints, he has to fully empower and back up and not undercut, as we've seen too often in the past. But if we don't act now, the danger is that the pathologies playing out on both sides will spin out of control, and God forbid, if Syria and Iran are involved in some way by Israel and respond in kind, the destabilization that we will encounter will be living with the consequences for a long time to come, with 130,000 American soldiers trapped in the middle of this game.
James Zogby, the president of the Arab American Institute, let's hope your nephew and everyone else survives this current escalating tense situation in the region.
Thank you, Wolf.
Appreciate your coming in.
Thanks.
The crisis is sparking a war of words over at the United Nations. Our senior UN correspondent Richard Roth is joining us live with more on that. Richard?
Frustration and anger, Wolf, here at the UN, boiling over on the world stage. Instead of across their own borders, Mideast neighbors Israel and Lebanon lobbed accusations and denunciations over the Security Council table.
What Israel is undertaking is an act of aggression and devastation aimed at bringing Lebanon to its knees and subverting it by any means.
Having shown unparalleled restraint for 6 years while bearing the brunt of countless attacks, Israel had to respond to this absolutely unprovoked assault whose scale and depth was unprecedented in recent years.
Lebanon appealed for help in stopping Israeli attacks.
International community is called upon, as represented by the Security Council, to take an immediate, clear decision calling for comprehensive, immediate ceasefire, a lifting of the air and sea blockade imposed upon Lebanon, and calling for an end of Israeli aggression.
You know deep in your heart that if you could, you would be sitting here right next to me right now, because you know that we are doing the right thing, and that if we succeed, Lebanon will be the beneficiary.
The U.S. blasted Syria and Iran for having a hand in the missile attacks on Israel. The Syrian ambassador said he was denied permission to respond inside the Security Council. The Security Council only produced a short statement welcoming the visit to the Middle East by 3 UN advisors sent there at the behest of Kofi Annan and Condoleezza Rice. Wolf.
Thanks very much for that. Richard Roth reporting for us from the United Nations. As Israeli forces attempt to cut off Beirut's roads, ports, and airport, people in the embattled city are turning to the internet to try to connect with the outside world. Our Abby Tatton is standing by with details. Abby?
Wolf, this is the view from the kitchen window of one South Beirut resident. Teacher Musa Bashir has been updating this website almost hourly in the last couple of days, despite power outages that he is reporting. He said this morning that explosions kept us awake last night. He went out and recorded the results of those explosions today. These just a few hundred feet from his house. Other Beirut residents reporting that people are stockpiling food. Pictures of a local supermarket here showing that the shelves are empty. But it's not just reports from Beirut that we are getting. This is a kibbutz just over the border into Israel, just a couple of miles from the Lebanese border there. It's called Kibbutz Matsuba, and residents there have been posting online the warnings that they're getting from the local TV. This one warning residents to get into shelters. Wolf.
All right, Abby, thank you very much. Coming up, could the crisis spread across the broader Middle East? We're going to show you some disturbing scenarios. Tom Foreman standing by. Stay with us. Plus, a leading American evangelical leader invited to North Korea. CNN's Zane Verjee is now in South Korea. This is a story you're going to see only here on CNN.
Around the World is brought to you by Orbitz.com. Log on to Orbitz.com today. Book your hotel and flight together and save. It's that easy. Orbitz and go.
Folks, I've been informed we'll be in a holding pattern for the next hour.
It's time to play Take on Orbitz.
Today's players need to alert each of their clients they'll be late for a meeting from midair.
Oh.
Ready? Go.
Done.
Orbitz notifies anyone you're running late automatically.
Introducing Orbitz TLC. You get treated like a VIP only when you book on Orbitz and go.
We know responsibility is a round-the-clock job, but if your home is ever damaged by fire, we have help standing by 24 hours a day. Responsibility. What's your policy? Liberty Mutual.
The latest on the Middle East right now, Hezbollah vowing an all-out war against Israel. Israel, though, is not backing down by any means, bombing the home of Hezbollah's leader and trying to seal off Lebanon. Meanwhile, Lebanon's prime minister says Hezbollah's decision to kidnap 2 Israeli soldiers was irresponsible, but he's also calling Israel's response disproportionate. Lebanese officials tell CNN the fighting has already cost some 63 Lebanese lives. Meanwhile, Israel says one of its warships was damaged by an unmanned Hezbollah aircraft rigged with explosives. And the Pentagon right now drawing up plans for a possible evacuation of some 25,000 American citizens living in Lebanon. So what happens if the current crisis spirals out of control? CNN's Tom Foreman has been investigating that awful scenario. Tom?
What I'm hearing is a tremendous number of widely ranging opinions about that. But let's start with the basics. If you're having trouble keeping up with all of this, let's look. We're talking about north of Africa, basically here. This is the area that we're talking about. And here are the basics. This is the border. Israel's down here. Lebanon's up here. The southern part of Lebanon is largely controlled by Hezbollah, which is this internationally recognized terrorist group. It's been attacking Israel across this border for a long time. They kidnapped the soldiers here, and now Israel is just raining down upon them as much as they can in this attack. Take a look at what happened today. We had more attacks in southern Beirut as they attacked the headquarters of these folks. They hit the airport road out here. They hit a lot of different places, and they still have a blockade in place out here. And this is where we had the ship that we mentioned a moment ago that was attacked, apparently with a drone of some sort that flew out of this area. They're surrounding Hezbollah down here and trying to contain them. The big question is, this is an area only about the size of Maryland, but will this battle get much, much bigger?
Israel is making its position clear. Every hour that Hezbollah holds on to the captured Israeli soldiers, Israeli forces will hammer Hezbollah's home base in Lebanon. For years, the internationally recognized terrorist group has attacked Israel from across the Lebanese border. Now Israel is going after Hezbollah's headquarters, communications lines, and weapons.
They have already demonstrated that they're having a pretty good level of success of slamming into Hezbollah and bringing some great wrath down on Hezbollah that is long overdue.
But with each hour, the conflict is also threatening to grow. Hezbollah is mocking Israel's efforts to rescue the kidnapped soldiers.
You want an open war? We will go to the open war. And we are ready for it.
So how could this expand to other, bigger countries? One theory is simple. Iran and Syria are longtime supporters of Hezbollah. If Israel expands its efforts to include attacks on Syria, that country could be drawn into the battle. The United States and other countries are already concerned about the possibility of regional warfare. The threat posed by Iran's nuclear program has been temporarily overshadowed, but it now stands accused of being the supplier of the missiles being used against Israel.
So this is just a measure of this unbelievable uncertainty going on over there right now. What we've got is a lot of power, a lot of people very upset in a very volatile part of the world. Take a real quick look at this if we can, if I can get this back where we want to here. Over here is where we would find Iran. It's not that far away. And this has been the big concern for the U.S. Right next door to it is where we have Iraq, where we have a lot of U.S. troops. All the people I talked to today could reach no conclusion as to how all these forces might come together, but what they're saying is there are a lot of big powers that are very angry and very concerned, and they're all swirling around each other, and in this region, that's why people think it could expand, even if they don't know quite how.
It's so unpredictable, and I've spent a lot of time in that part of the world.
You know better than most.
Totally unpredictable. Thanks very much for that, Tom. Coming up, oil turmoil. If the Middle East violence continues, it could push oil prices even higher, making that $3 a gallon you pay right now seem cheap. And in California, 2 wildfires. Separately, they've scorched 61,000 acres. Now these ferocious fires may be joining forces. Stay with us.
She's called her deepness, because no woman has spent more time underwater studying marine ecosystems.
There's a symphony of life down there, but there are energy resources too, and Kerr-McGee leads the way.
With new smart technology that can float in, recover resources, then sail away. Energy our country needs.
With care our oceans deserve.
Nobody rules and respects the deep water like the explorers of Kerr-McGee.
I'm Pete. I've had nice bosses, mean bosses, short bosses, tall bosses, she bosses, he bosses, they bosses, serious bosses, nervous bosses, and one kind of funny boss. Now I'm the boss, and my plan is to keep the boss happy.
You do what you love. We'll help you keep your investments on track. Fidelity Retirement Income Advantage. Call 1-800-FIDELITY. Smart move.
Your risks can change quickly. Make sure your insurance stays in sync. Travelers.
We're continuing to watch the escalating situation in the Middle East right now. We're going to go back there momentarily, but there's some other important news happening here in the United States as well, including the heat that's dogging some 3,000 firefighters working two major blazes in Southern California. They're simply burning out of control right now, and they're threatening to merge into one giant wildfire. Seeing as Chris Lawrence is joining us now from the fire lines with the latest. Looks awful, that smoke behind you, Chris.
It does, Wolf, but there was a worst-case scenario that this fire would move into a heavily populated tourist area surrounded by forests, Big Bear. Officials now tell us that it is very, very unlikely that it will move into Big Bear. Take a look at what we're dealing with here. This is the Sawtooth Fire here burning across the mountain here in the Morongo Valley, California. People here have been keeping a close eye on it because, as you said, it could merge with another smaller fire. Officials say right now, their last count, it was within a half a mile, but they say the two fires may have already merged. There's so much smoke over the area where they would come together, they can't be sure, but it is either within a half a mile or it has already merged. Now you can see this area is under mandatory evacuation. The sheriff told everyone living here to get out of this area. Right now we are seeing the sheriff come down the street literally with a bullhorn. You can see this truck telling people to get out of the street, that it's time to get out of this area. But a lot of people have not listened. We can pan over. You can see some of the folks here on the house right next to us have been just standing there and watching this fire burn. A lot of the folks here tell us they feel the firefighters have been able to keep this fire on the mountain. They have refused to evacuate their homes, even as the sheriff is coming by telling people that it is time to go. Wolf?
We'll continue to watch this fire together with you, Chris. Thanks very much. Good luck to all the folks out there. And still to come here in the Situation Room. It's happened for a second day in a row, a record high for oil prices. If the Middle East crisis continues, and it looks like it's going to continue, at least in the short term, might oil prices reach even higher levels than ever seen before? Jack Cafferty also wants to know this. What does it mean if Iran is giving missiles to Hezbollah? Jack will be back with your email. Stay with us.
To increase skin's radiance, dermatologists recognize Aveeno Positively Radiant Moisturizers. The soy complex is clinically proven to improve the key elements of radiance, including fine lines, sunspots, and blotchiness.
Can your moisturizer do that?
Aveeno Positively Radiant.
Now
time of my life, and I owe it all to you.
At Sandals, having the time of your life means having everything you've ever dreamed of. But most of all, it's having the time together. Through July, get up to 50% off depending on date of travel. Call 1-800-SANDALS or visit our website.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by Garlic, cholesterol's natural enemy.
Cholesterol. My doctor said to watch it.
Garlic maintains healthy cholesterol naturally.
My doctor's happy. So am I.
Eat right, exercise, Garlic.
Welcome back. It's just after midnight in Beirut, Lebanon. I want to go back there. Our correspondent Alessio Vinci is on the scene for us. These have been incredibly difficult days for you and all of our colleagues there, but the people in Beirut are suffering clearly as well. Update our viewers on what we know right now, Alessio.
Hello, Wolf. A quick update on that Israeli ship that has hit several targets in the southern Beirut area here. We understand from the IDF now that contrary to an earlier report that ship was being hit by what appeared to be a rocket and only slightly damaged, we understand now from an IDF spokesman that is quoted by the Haaretz newspaper in Jerusalem that ship actually has received more damage than originally planned, and that ship actually has been recalled and brought back to Israel. And we understand from that report that the ship is now on fire. Now, this is a ship, according to reports here, that has hit the Hezbollah headquarters here in southern Beirut. And you remember the Hezbollah leader, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, making inflammatory remarks regarding that very specific ship, saying, look at your window and look at it, it will sink before your eyes. And then moments later, that ship was hit by what believed to be a rocket. Now we understand it might have been a Hezbollah drone hitting that ship, Wolf.
Alessio, thank you very much. We're going to continue to check back with you. The story not going away. His references to the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, that's the name of the Israeli army. Lou Dobbs getting ready for his program that begins right at the top of the hour. He's standing by to tell us what he's working on. Lou?
Well, thank you. Coming up at 6 p.m. Eastern here on CNN, we'll be reporting all of the latest developments on Hezbollah's declaration of open war against Israel as Israel and Hezbollah escalate their conflict. We'll be live with those reports in Beirut, northern Israel, and at the Pentagon. The Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Dan Gillerman, joins us, and radical Islamist terrorists trying to enter the United States could be receiving help from the government of Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. We'll have that special report, and communities all across this country so fed up with the federal government's failure to stop illegal immigration, they are taking matters into their own hands. We'll be talking with the mayor of Hazleton, Pennsylvania, who has successfully put together the strongest legislation and ordinances in the country. We hope you'll be with us at the top of the hour here on CNN for that and a great deal more. Wolf, back to you.
Thank you very much, Lou. We'll be watching. Let's check in on the price of oil right now. CNN's Ali Velchi is in New York with the bottom line. How bad is it, Ali?
Well, it's pretty bad, Wolf. We never really want to be talking about money when all this stuff is going on, but the reality is what's going on the other side of the world, if it doesn't have some personal connection to you, is pretty soon going to have one. That's the new settling price of oil in New York, $77.03. It's the highest that's ever been exchanged for a barrel of oil. Now, of course, taking inflation into account, and you go back to the 80s, oil would have to be around $90 to be an all-time high. One thing to remember, Wolf, is despite everything that's going on in the Middle East today, there's no less oil production in the world. This is the fear that it could be, particularly if Iran gets dragged further into this matter and cuts off a lot of the oil supply. So we are looking at a very high price for oil. We've talked to some experts who say you will see this at the gas pump within a few days, 8 to 12 cents higher probably. We're looking at markets that got affected by this too. The Dow down almost 107 points to 10,739. The NASDAQ off 16 to 2,037, Wolf.
Ali, thank you very much for that. But coming up, more on the crisis in the Middle East. Also, Arzain Verji is right now in South Korea tracking a story involving the author of the best-selling book, The Purpose-Living Life, and his plans to visit North Korea. We'll update you on what's going on that front. And in our 7 p.m. Eastern hour, there's a new chapter in the Valerie Plame affair. The outed CIA officer is speaking out about what happened and her new lawsuit. Stay with us.
Too often political correctness is all about controlling language. We have to tell it like it is.
Lou Dobbs tonight. CNN coming up next.
Get ready for the Red, White, and Blue Comedy Tour, starring Steve Bridges as George W. Bush.
First, it's an honor to be here.
Saturday, August 19th at Newmark Theater.
And third,
an evening of nonpartisan humor.
In fact, I'll admit it, maybe I wouldn't last too long on Jeopardy. But I'll tell you right now, my predecessor, Bill Clinton, wouldn't last 2 minutes on Temptation Island.
Steve Bridges.
To those who want to sing the national anthem in Spanish, I say to you, no way, Jose.
Tickets on sale Saturday at 11 a.m.
Want a better job? Ready to make a move? Start your search for a better local job right now at PortlandJobFinder.com.
When I was looking for a new job, I decided to try PortlandJobFinder.com. It was easy to use. I put in the keywords, found the result that worked for me, and now I've got this great job that I really love.
PortlandJobFinder.com is easy to use. Upload your resume and find a better job today.
PortlandJobFinder.com. It's free for job seekers and it's good for business.
Can you tell the difference between these pet medications? They're exactly the same, but these medications cost a lot less. And they're delivered right to my door. That's the 1-800-PET-MEDS difference. Great savings, fast service, free shipping. Order now.
This summer, get the sunblock that also blocks the bite. New Bullfrog Mosquito Coast Sunblock and Repellent. Up to 8-hour protection against harmful rays and pesky bites without the odor. New Bullfrog Mosquito Coast. Block the burn and the bite.
Films you don't see anywhere else. Every week, CNW 14 and Film Baby bring you one of the more than 600 independent films available at filmbaby.com.
It's one of the most humiliating moments of my life when you're making fun of me.
Many Iraqi citizens hate this Western influence.
Independence Day, Wednesdays at 7 on CNW 14.
Now, CNN tonight, 8 Eastern.
At Beach's ultra-inclusive family resorts, everything you dream about magically comes true. Gliding and sliding and splashing with glee. Diving and dining, it's all included, you see. Even Elmo and friends from Sesame Street. Beach's makes every day in paradise perfect.
This July, get up to 50% off depending on date of travel. Call 1-800-BEACHES.
North Korea has earned the ire of many after its recent missile test. Now it's getting attention for another unexpected act. It involves the author of the best-selling book, The Purpose Live Drive, and his hopes that were dashed. CNN's Zane Verjee is in South Korea right now with a story you'll see only on CNN. Zane?
Wolf, it's off for now. Pastor Warren was invited by North Korea at a politically delicate time between Pyongyang and Washington, but at the last minute, North Korea changed plans.
Evangelical pastor Rick Warren's trip to South Korea has been big news here. He's been preaching, speaking, and meeting church leaders. His planned trip to North Korea's Kumgang Mountain was bigger news, more controversial, and more sensitive because of the timing. North Korea test-fired 7 missiles over a week ago, rattled its uneasy neighbors, provoked the anger of the United States, and sent the United Nations into a diplomatic frenzy. A last-minute decision by North Korea threw Dr. Warren's plans off track. His spokesperson told CNN they were informed that the planning meeting scheduled for Monday in North Korea has been postponed, perhaps to be rescheduled later in the week. He went on to say the invitation still stands for Dr. Warren to preach in Pyongyang next year. But with North Korea, nothing is ever guaranteed. For weeks, the author of the best-selling book, Purpose-Driven Life, said he wasn't going to talk politics, just peace and a chance to preach. Significant because the isolated country doesn't allow the practice of religion outside a handful of state-controlled churches. The only worship openly embraced is the adoration of the country's leader, Kim Jong-il, and his late father, Kim Il-sung. North Korea has a history of engagement with American religious leaders. The Reverend Billy Graham was the first American to preach there since the country was divided in 1945. The Reverend Sun Myung-moon was also there. The North Koreans have hosted the most unlikely of guests. Roger Clinton, former President Bill Clinton's brother, strutted his stuff at a rock concert in Pyongyang. Regional experts say Warren's invitation could have been an attempt by North Korea to send a signal to the U.S. that they want to engage Americans. But the signal for Warren now is, don't come, at least not yet. The sense from the Warren camp is one of disappointment, but they're still holding out hope that North Korea will honor its well-publicized intentions. Wolf?
Zane Vergy reporting. Thank you very much. And Zane's going to have a series of exclusive reports from the Korean Peninsula here in the Situation Room starting on Monday. Up next, Jack Cafferty is wondering what it means if Iran is supplying missiles to Hezbollah. He's standing by with the Cafferty File.
Do you have an adjustable rate mortgage? How much has your monthly payment gone up? Do you have credit card debt? Get a new low fixed rate home loan with one low monthly payment, even if you have a credit problem. Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
There's a place where you can get to know some of the most famous names in the investing business, where you can meet the elite, including some of the best and the brightest. At E-Trade Financial, be starstruck.
People love their hover-round power chairs.
You made me love you.
I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it.
I get embarrassed when people say they love me after I show them how much fun it is to get their independence back.
I love getting out of my house again, and boy, is it easy.
You made me love you.
Hi, I'm Tom Cruise, inventor of the Hover-Round. I can't sing, but I can guarantee you'll love what you can do in your Hover-Round.
I'm amazed at the people who say they love us just because we got them their Hover-Round at little or no cost.
I love Hover-Round because it did not cost me 1 penny.
Hover-Round is like riding around in an easy chair with wheels. You made me love you, and all the time you knew it.
People just love the round design. We say it's round for a reason, so you can turn and get through the narrowest door or hallway.
I love how easy it is to maneuver.
To find out more, call this number to get your free Hover-Round information kit.
You'll also love Hover-Round's exclusive pressure release system with lumbar support, 4-inch thick foam, and comfort ride inner springs.
It's time you fell in love with a Hover-Round and learned how to be independent again. Call this number to get your free Hover-Round information kit, which includes a free video and a free test drive certificate. A Hover-Round mobility specialist will also do a personal evaluation to find the perfect model for you. Call today and you'll also get this special comparison guide that tells you how to choose the power chair that's right for you. There's no obligation. Call now to learn how you may get your Hover-Round for little or no cost.
You made me love you.
Call 1-800-377-9449 today to get your free Hover-Round information kit. That's 1-800-377-9449.
Let's get back to Jack Cafferty in New York. Jack?
Israel says the long-range missiles that were fired at Haifa from Lebanon were made in Iran. Hezbollah guerrillas have denied firing those 2 rockets, but Israel is blaming that group nevertheless for the attack. The question is, what does it mean if Iran is supplying missiles to Hezbollah? Mark, in Oklahoma City, it means the U.S., Israel, and all non-Muslim nations should take this opportunity to crush the terror-sponsoring nations of Iran and Syria once and for all. It's a war that's going to have to be fought eventually. We might as well do it before Iran has 50 nuclear bombs to throw at Israel. Katie in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Iran has the right to supply weapons to Hezbollah when its own national interests are at stake. It's hypocritical for people in the United States to be appalled by such an action when the United States is supplying Israel with the weapons they use to kill innocent people. Matt in Dallas, Jack, it means we should have dealt with Iran more forcibly months ago instead of running around the diplomatic table playing games with people who clearly have no desire for peace. John in California means that Israel, hopefully with the full support of the U.S., goes ahead with a massive response against the Hamas, Hezbollah terrorists and Syria and Iran, the terrorist states that pull their strings. It's the trigger event we should use to wipe out radical Islam. David in Wimberley, Texas, it means we screwed up big time by neutralizing the counterbalance against Iran, which has always been Iraq. The real sponsors of terrorism were always in Tehran, not Baghdad. Ian in Toronto, the rockets were made in Iran that hit Israel. The bombs that Israel drops are made in the U.S., so shut up. And finally, if you didn't see your email here, you can go to cnn.com/Cafferty-File and read some more of these online. Wolf?
And we'll have a lot more in 1 hour, Jackson. Stand by. We're here in the Situation Room weekday afternoons from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, back at 7 p.m. Eastern, just an hour from now. Till then, thanks very much for joining us. Let's go to New York. Lou Dobbs Tonight starts right now. Lou's there. Lou?
Thank you, Wolf. Tonight, the radical Islamist group Hezbollah declares open war on Israel. As Israel and Hezbollah escalate their rocket and missile barrages, the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Dan Gillerman, joins us. And the United States is preparing plans to evacuate tens of thousands of Americans from Lebanon. The USS Iwo Jima and other warships on standby. We'll have that special report here tonight.
This is Lou Dobbs Tonight. News, debate, and opinion for Friday, July 14th. Live in New York, Lou Dobbs.
Good evening, everybody. Israel and the radical Islamist terrorist group Hezbollah tonight are at war. The leader of Hezbollah today declared open war against Israel. The Israeli Prime Minister, Ehud Olmert, said that Israel will not stop bombarding Lebanon until Hezbollah is disarmed. At least 12 Israelis have been killed in the past 3 days. More than 60 Lebanese have been killed. The United States is preparing tonight to evacuate up to 25,000 Americans from Lebanon. 7 U.S. warships are already in the region. Alessio Venci reports from Beirut on Israel's tightening blockade on Lebanon. John Voss reports from northern Israel on the escalating Hezbollah rocket attacks on Israeli border towns. And Jamie McIntyre reports from the Pentagon on the military's preparations for a possible evacuation of American citizens from Lebanon. We turn first to Alessio Venci. Alessio.
Lou, extraordinary series of events here in the last few hours in Beirut. First, the Israeli gunship enforcing a blockade off the coast of Beirut, hitting hard at the Hezbollah headquarters in the southern part of Beirut. And Destroying the home office of the militia group leader. No casualties there, but heavy damage. Moments later, the Hezbollah leader, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, made an audio tape appearance declaring all-out war against Israel, called on the people to resist the Israeli attacks and vowing to achieve victory. And then at the very end of that videotape, the Sheikh actually called on his people to look at the ship that had just attacked the Hezbollah headquarters and basically said it will burn and sink before your very eyes. And moments later, the IDF confirming that one of its ships has been hit by what appeared to be initially a rocket and slightly damaged that ship. Now we understand from the IDF that ship actually has been heavily damaged and is on its way back to Jerusalem. In the meantime, into Israel. In the meantime, all this is happening while this morning again the Israeli forces pounded the international airport here in Beirut. First, they allowed one of the runways that had been destroyed the day before to be patched up. 5 Middle Eastern MAA aircraft airliners belonging to the national airline here were allowed to leave, and after that the Israeli forces pounded again that same runway that had been repaired, including the parking lot nearby. So Israel really on an all-out attempt here to completely isolate Lebanon from the air, the sea, and the land, Lou.
Alessio, thank you very much. Alessio Venci, we appreciate it. We'll be going back for further reports on this escalating and widening conflict. Radical Islamist terrorists today fired more than 50 rockets at communities across northern Israel. 2 more Israelis were killed in those attacks. More than 200,000 Israelis living near the border tonight are bracing for more attacks. John Voss reports from one Israeli community just 10 miles from the Israel-Lebanon border. John.
Lou, it is eerily quiet here tonight, with many residents taking cover in bomb shelters and other safe rooms in their homes. The Israeli military now says Hezbollah has fired more than 90 Katyusha rockets today, more than 300 in the past 48 hours. Today, another 2 Israeli civilians died. A woman and her grandson were killed when their house took a direct hit from a Katyusha rocket. Here in Nahariya, there have been 2 rounds of Katyusha attacks. Hezbollah seems to be sticking to a pattern. Attacks in the early morning and then again in the early evening. At least 30 people have been wounded here. At least a dozen more have been hurt in the town of Safed. Along the Israel-Lebanon border, a warning for Israeli residents living within 14 miles of Lebanon to stay inside bomb shelters and safe rooms, and also for residents 30 miles away, including those who live in the major port city of Haifa, a warning from the military to stay off the streets and to stay indoors. There is also growing concern among Israeli military officials that Hezbollah may have long-range missiles. The 2 rockets which hit Haifa on Thursday evening, according to the Israeli military, not typical Katyushas. They have a much longer range, and once again, quoting Israeli military officials, those 2 rockets were made in Iran. Lou.
John, thank you very much. John Voss from the northern border with Lebanon. Israel tonight is also maintaining a tight blockade of Gaza. Israeli troops have destroyed key transportation facilities in Gaza in an effort to secure the release of a kidnapped Israeli soldier. Israel has also closed key crossing points into Gaza. Today, Palestinians blow a hole in a border fence with rocket-propelled grenades, and hundreds of Palestinians immediately crossed into Gaza from Egypt. Ben Wiedemann reports from Gaza on the showdown between Israel and the Palestinians' radical Islamist government.
The bullhorn is blaring in Gaza. Hamas is on the march. The radical Islamic group, which has held 1 Israeli soldier for almost 3 weeks, organized rallies all over Gaza in support of Hezbollah, which is holding 2 Israeli soldiers. Hezbollah's yellow flag flies next to Hamas's green banner. God willing, everything will come down on the heads of the Jews and we'll defeat them, says Hamas supporter Abu Mujahid. Little chance of that happening, but the fighting in Lebanon has ignited passion among the militants and their supporters for a regional war against Israel. Gaza's misery, it appears, loves company. Addressing the crowd, Hamas spokesman Mushir al-Masri called on Arab and Islamic leaders to get off the sidelines and join the fight against Israel, or face the anger of their people. But while Gaza's streets are noisy, its front lines have gone quiet.
Israel seems to have suspended most of its military operations in Gaza, if only for now.
Shortly after dawn, residents in central Gaza returned to areas evacuated by withdrawing Israeli forces. They left behind destroyed roads and damaged houses. And early Friday, Hamas's military wing fired 6 Qassam rockets on Israel. No injuries or damage were reported. Hamas's bark and bullhorns may be louder than its bite. Ben Wiedemann, CNN, Gaza.
Agency plans to evacuate nearly 30,000 Americans from Lebanon. One option is to send an amphibious task force led by the USS Iwo Jima to the Lebanese coast. Jamie McIntyre has the report from the Pentagon.
The open warfare between Israel and Hezbollah has essentially trapped an estimated 25,000 Americans in Lebanon. The State Department says all U.S. citizens except essential embassy personnel should consider leaving what has become a war zone. The American embassy in Beirut has put an authorized departure policy in effect, but with no safe way out, for now, most Americans are on their own.
Conditions permitting, we have urged American citizens to consider leaving Lebanon. But again, they have to take into account their own personal security. That's going to be a decision that they have to make themselves.
With Beirut's main airport cratered by Israeli bombs, the usual manner of evacuating Americans, chartering commercial aircraft, is not an option. Although under a brief ceasefire, Israel allowed Lebanon to move 5 airliners to safety and also permitted the former Lebanese prime minister's private plane to take off before the runway was bombed again. Pentagon sources say the U.S. military is considering a number of options if an emergency evacuation is ordered. The nearest U.S. ships with helicopters are part of a 7-ship task force headed by the Iwo Jima, which is in the Red Sea. It would take several days, though, for it to move back through the Suez Canal to the Mediterranean, because it would first have to collect many of its 2,200 Marines who are ashore in Jordan on an exercise. Another option would be to move helicopters to the nearby island of Cyprus, roughly 150 miles from Beirut, close enough for unrefueled helicopter runs back and forth.
And given the close relationship between the U.S. military and Israel, it's also possible the U.S. could work out another brief ceasefire to use the Beirut International Airport after some emergency repairs. But whatever the U.S. does, it will not do in secret. The last thing the U.S. military wants to do is send in evacuation helicopters that then draw fire because they're confused with Israeli helicopter gunships. Lou?
Jamie, thank you. Jamie McIntyre from the Pentagon. The continuing escalating violence in the Middle East today leading to another increase in world crude oil prices. Crude oil rose 33 cents, closing at a record high, $77.33 a barrel. The price of oil has risen 26% so far this year. We'll have much more on the Middle East crisis ahead. Hezbollah declares war on Israel. President Bush holds emergency talks in Russia. We'll have a report for you from St. Petersburg. At the United Nations calls for an immediate Israeli ceasefire rebuffed. Our nation's closest allies are split on how to respond to this war. We'll be going live to the United Nations. And Israel says it won't stop its bombardment of Lebanon until Hezbollah is disarmed. The Israeli ambassador to the United Nations joins us here tonight.
Your risks can change quickly. Make sure your insurance stays in sync. Travelers.
You see a long business trip. At Franklin Templeton, we saw regional air travel rising and invested in a commuter jet manufacturer ready to take off. A smart move for our fund shareholders. Perspective like this has made Templeton a pioneer in global investing. Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective. Ask your advisor for a prospectus with investment goals, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing.
Bedhead. Proof that you've experienced the new Hampton bed. A plush comforter, a crisp white duvet, and choice of pillows. You'll be well rested and ready for anything. Hampton, home of the proud bedhead.
Oh, hi. This is a great place for romance. And that chair is perfect. You should go to Vongo.com. For less than $10 a month, you can download all the romantic movies you want. You even get your first 14 days free. If you prefer action or comedy, Vongo's library is huge. Of course, we won't be together if that's what you plan to watch.
10 years after TWA Flight 800 exploded, what are airline passengers not being told? A special 2-hour investigation.
Why are passengers still at risk?
CNN presents No Survivors. Saturday and Sunday night, 7 Eastern.
President Bush tonight is in St. Petersburg, Russia for the G8 meeting. The G8 countries are deeply divided over how to respond to the war in the Middle East. President Bush today made a series of telephone calls to Middle Eastern leaders. Suzanne Malveaux reports from St. Petersburg.
President Bush arrived in St. Petersburg 2 days ahead of the G8 summit to have what aides call private and frank discussions with someone he calls an old friend, Russian President Vladimir Putin. But it's the crisis in the Middle East that has now taken center stage. Before his arrival aboard Air Force One, Mr. Bush called key allies in the region, the leaders of Egypt and Jordan, to press them to use their influence with Hezbollah to get the Israeli soldiers released. He also called Lebanon's Prime Minister, Fouad Senoura, to reiterate his belief that Israel has the right to protect itself against Hezbollah, but should try to spare the innocent and respect Senoura's authority.
Whatever Israel does, though, should not weaken the Senoura government in Lebanon.
White House officials denied that Mr. Bush was calling for Israel to stop its attacks, saying that was a matter for the Israeli military to decide. But Mr. Bush has not spoken to Israel's Prime Minister Ehud Olmert. That task has been left to his Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice.
We just continue to ask that the Israelis exercise restraint, be concerned about civilian casualties, be concerned, of course, about civilian infrastructure, and that's been the nature of our conversations.
Rice also called several regional leaders and the UN's Kofi Annan, while other U.S. officials in the region are making personal contacts. Former Middle East envoy Dennis Ross says the U.S. is being reduced to sitting on the sidelines, while others say the administration needs to better engage on all sides.
Our peace process policy is in shambles. The roadmap of peace that President Bush articulated really doesn't exist anymore. We don't talk to Hamas. We don't talk to Hezbollah. So to empower a few people to run around and try to make some progress without deciding what basis on which they're going to operate, I think would be foolhardy.
It's far from clear whether or not the G8 leaders at the summit will come up with a unified response to the Middle East crisis. Already there is a split, with Russia and France saying they believe Israel has overreacted, while the United States and Germany disagree. Suzanne Malveaux, CNN, St. Petersburg, Russia.
The UN Security Council is also divided over this conflict. Countries that support Hezbollah are trying to stop Israel's bombardment of Lebanon. Israel and its supporters are strongly defending Israel's right to defend itself against radical Islamist terrorism. Richard Roth reports from the United Nations.
Instead of across their own borders, Mideast neighbors Israel and Lebanon lobbed accusations and denunciations over the Security Council table.
What Israel is undertaking is an act of aggression and devastation aimed at bringing Lebanon to its knees and subverting it by any means.
Having shown unparalleled restraint for 6 years while bearing the brunt of countless attacks, Israel had to respond to this absolutely unprovoked assault whose scale and depth was unprecedented in recent years.
Lebanon appealed for help in stopping Israeli attacks.
International community is called upon, as represented by the Security Council, to take an immediate, clear decision calling for comprehensive, immediate ceasefire, a lifting of the air and sea blockade imposed upon Lebanon, and calling for an end of Israeli aggression.
You know deep in your heart that if you could, you would be sitting here right next to me right now, because you know that we are doing the right thing, and that if we succeed, Lebanon will be the beneficiary.
The U.S. blasted Syria and Iran for having a hand in the missile attacks on Israel. The Syrian ambassador said he was denied permission to respond inside the Security Council. And the Council president, the ambassador from France, said it was too soon, Lou, to consider any ceasefire resolution. Lou?
Richard, thank you. Richard Roth from the United Nations. Later here, I'll be talking with Israel's UN ambassador, Dan Gillerman. Also ahead tonight, 3 of the nation's best political analysts join us to discuss this worsening, escalating conflict in the Middle East, and the government of Hugo Chavez in Venezuela may be aiding and abetting illegal aliens and possibly radical Islamist terrorists trying to enter this country. A special report on that, and we'll have complete coverage of Hezbollah's declaration of war and what is an escalating crisis in the Middle East tonight. Stay with us.
Will the scoop of her career,
Peter Lyman is the tarot card serial killer.
I'm Peter Lyman, be the love of her life?
I can't imagine you do anything bad.
Or the end of it?
You're with a very, very dangerous man.
Scoop.
That's 2 verys.
Rated PG-13 in select theaters July 28th.
Oh.
Thanks for calling Dell. What can we build for you?
Well, my family needs a new computer.
Great, let's get started. What do you think you'll be using it for the most?
My kids are really into games, and I do a little video editing, you know.
I'd set you up with a high-performance graphics card, and you might want a faster processor.
Yeah, you know, that's probably a good idea.
Okay, now let's talk about a monitor.
I was thinking about a 20-inch. But wait, let's step it up to the widescreen.
You got it. All right, you're all set. We'll send it right out.
Great, thanks.
At Dell, we don't build technology for just anyone. We build it for only one. You. Dell. Purely you. For just $449, build this Dell Dimension E310 with an Intel Pentium 4 with HT technology and get a 17-inch flat panel upgrade and free shipping.
CNN Tonight at 10, with the Mideast so close to the edge again. Anderson Cooper reports live from Israel as tensions explode. CNN Tonight, 10 Eastern.
Do you have difficulty falling asleep and staying asleep at night? Are you 65 years of age or older? A clinical research study is being conducted for an investigational medication for the treatment of insomnia. Qualified participants will receive study-related medication, study-related medical care, and may receive compensation for time and travel. If you are 65 years of age or older and are interested in learning more about this insomnia research study, please call 503-276-6224.
They came. They stood toe to toe. They fought their hearts out.
I was the better man all night long.
Most people didn't see it that way.
Mosley dominated the early rounds. Vargas ruled the later rounds. Had it not been stopped, who knows what would have happened.
I beat him the first time, and I'm going to beat him again.
This time, I'm going to knock you out.
Mosley Vargas, the rematch, Saturday, July 15th, live on Events in Demand pay-per-view.
Order Mosley versus Vargas 2, live July 15th on Events in Demand.
Will Mideast violence draw the U.S. into another war? Larry King Live, CNN 9 Eastern.
Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Dan Gillerman, today said the Hezbollah terrorist group is an instrument of Syria and Iran. The ambassador said Hezbollah, together with Hamas, Syria, and Iran, constitute a new axis of terror. Israel today intensified its attacks on targets in Lebanon, one of those targets the home of the leader of Hezbollah. Meanwhile, Hezbollah fired more rockets at towns in northern Israel. At least 2 Israelis, a woman and a child, were killed. Ambassador Dan Gillerman joins me here now. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here, Lou.
Ambassador, first, there are reports that the missiles that were fired, the 2 Katyusha rockets with longer range than anyone had expected, were manufactured in Iran. Can you confirm that here tonight?
Yes, I can. We know for a fact that many of the long-range missiles which the Hezbollah has amassed over the last few years, and the Hezbollah has amassed over 10,000 rockets. It has fired 600 of them in the last 48 hours alone. Many of those were supplied by Iran, made in Iran. Iran funds the Hezbollah to the sum of $100 million a year.
This conflict is widening. Hezbollah has declared open war. Was the language, on Israel. Where does this end?
It ends when our soldiers are returned home. It ends when the rocketing of Israeli towns and villages stops. And hopefully it ends with Lebanon becoming a free country again after living under the stranglehold of terror, both from tyrants in the north, like Syria, and terrorists from the south, like the Hezbollah. The Lebanese people have been living under oppression for over 30 years. They deserve to be free as well.
The Lebanese Prime Minister, Fouad Siniora, basically implied that Hezbollah had made a mistake. Implied further that he could go no farther than the statements he made, which were critical of Hezbollah and the tactics it was employing. Is his constraint and his obvious discomfort a sign of just how intimidated the Lebanese are?
Well, wouldn't you be intimidated if a word against the Syrians would blow your car up and blow you up to blithereens, as they did to Rafiq Hariri and to many of their opponents? Of course they're intimidated. Syria regards Lebanon as southern Syria. Syria is still threatening Lebanon. The Lebanese are in fear both of Syria and of the Hezbollah. But I must say that over the last few hours, we've heard some brave statements from very courageous Lebanese, including parliamentarians and ministers. And I actually pointed out to my Lebanese colleague at the Security Council today that if he could, he would probably join those brave words which were crying out for the brink of the abyss in that war-torn country, and would be sitting next to me making exactly the same statement, because he knows that what we're doing is the right thing and would actually benefit Lebanon in the long run.
Hezbollah, radical Islamist terrorism, a global war against radical Islamist terrorism. Is there any other end but conflict in this confrontation?
Well, I very much hope so. I think that the world needs to mobilize in this war. This is no longer just a war against terror. This is, as you pointed out, Lou, a war against extreme fundamentalist Islamic terrorism. You know, while it may be politically incorrect and maybe even untrue to say that all Muslims are terrorists, it happens to be very true that nearly all terrorists are Muslim. So this is not just Israel's war. This is the world's war. We are fighting it. We are on the front line. But I can sense, and I could even sense it at the Security Council today, that the world understands that we are fighting its war.
There are some who may find it incongruous, Ambassador, that the United States government called Hosni Mubarak of Egypt, talked to other leaders in the region, when the number of deaths in Iraq are greater. The insurgency is widespread and obviously well supported, both by Iran and Syria there as well. Does this conflict have to be resolved with Syria and Iran as the principal targets?
There's no doubt that Syria and Iran are the principal targets. Hamas and the Hezbollah are just the fingers on the bloody arms, the blood-stained arms of Iran and Hezbollah, and the twisted minds of Iran and Hezbollah and Syria. I mean, there's the president of Iran denying the Holocaust while preparing the next one and trying to amass nuclear weapons. The first thing those weapons will do, those dirty bombs and weapons of mass destruction, is find their way back to Lebanon, back to the arms and the hands of the Hezbollah and the Hamas, and spread around the world as probably the world's worst pandemic ever.
Israel tonight will accept nothing less than disarmament of Hezbollah before it ends its attacks.
Israel tonight will accept nothing less than the safe return of its soldiers and the stopping of the shelling of its cities and towns. The disarming of Hezbollah is something the rest of the world has demanded for a long time. Security Council resolutions 1559 and 1680 have demanded that. It's the Lebanese government that has to exert its sovereignty over the whole of Lebanon and deploy its forces also in the south. We will do everything we can to allow it to do so.
Ambassador Gilman, good to have you with us.
Very good to be here. Thank you, Lou.
Coming up next, much more of our coverage on this worsening conflict in the Middle East as the leader of Hezbollah declares open war on Israel. Three of the nation's sharpest political analysts join us here to assess the events. And a Pennsylvania city fighting back, tackling the illegal alien crisis in this country. I'll be talking with the mayor of Hazleton, Pennsylvania, about what is quickly becoming a nationwide reaction to a federal government failure of leadership. Stay with us.
You're the generation that's redefining retirement from this to this. We hear you. We are the personal advisors of Ameriprise Financial, and we're redefining the personal financial planning to help get you there, starting with the Dream Book, a new way to plan for retirement beyond the numbers. To get your free Dream Book, call 1-800-AMERIPRISE. Then an Ameriprise Financial advisor can help you focus on what you want to do and how to do it on your terms.
Ditech.com can save you thousands of dollars in closing costs.
With our previous refinances, we ended up paying a lot in closing costs. This time, we went to Ditech, and it was only $395.
Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
We will show you the very best investments to make in your house. We're really interested in serving the homeowner.
Open House, CNN tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern. Sponsored by Century 21, because life changes. Century 21, agents of change.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
The absolute summer clearance at Joseph A. Bank.
All clearance suits, 70% off. Every clearance sport coat, 70% off. All clearance dress pants, 70% off. Even every clearance silk tie, 70% off. Plus, an extra bonus, incredible clearance values throughout the store. Right now, all clearance suits, sport coats, and more, 70% off. Only at Joseph A. Bank. Now through Sunday.
New on DVD.
I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
For the first time, Commander-in-Chief, the inaugural edition, Part 1. A special 2-disc DVD set is yours to own. Emmy Award winner Donald Sutherland.
We can save this country from her.
And Academy Award winner Gina Davis in her Golden Globe winning performance.
Don't mess with my kids.
Experience the first 10 episodes of this groundbreaking series.
Let's get this done.
Commander-in-Chief, the inaugural edition, Part 1. Now available on DVD.
Hezbollah has declared war on Israel. The conflict tonight is widening. Joining me now to assess the events, former Reagan White House political director Ed Rollins, Michael Goodwin of the New York Daily News, Democratic strategist Hank Scheinkoff. Good to have you all here. Hank, let me turn to you first. This is a reaction that some are saying, friends of Hezbollah, that is an overreaction on the part of Israel. Your assessment?
The real enemy here is Iran. The real enemy is they're the people funding Hezbollah. What the Israelis do is will impact directly on the security of the United States of America.
Is the United States being constrained in its options here, in your opinion, Michael, because of the war in Iraq and the political mood in this country toward the Middle East?
No, well, so far I think the president has said the right thing, which is to basically say Israel has a right to defend itself. I mean, I think that is the clear statement of American principle here. And it's not one, it would seem so simple, but it's not being one that's shared around the world. So it's important that America say that. After that, I think the president does have limited influence in the region. Certainly, we're no longer considered a broker, honest or otherwise. So I think that we're clearly on Israel's side, as we should be, and the rest of the world is going to have to figure its own way out how to deal with that.
Germany, Japan, the United Kingdom, siding, of course, with Israel, along with the United States, but Russia, China, a host of major nations calling for ceasefire, and obviously greater friends of Hezbollah, radical Islamist terrorists, than Israel.
The important thing in this debate is the Congress and the president are all on the same side. Israel is our friend. It's a democracy that we've stood behind before. As much of a tinderbox as this is, you're not going to have the partisan disputes that you're having on the other parts of the war. And so I think the president has to lead, has to do the right thing. And even though our options may be somewhat limited by Iraq involvement, we cannot forget our friends.
Is anyone else struck by the fact that this administration is calling several leaders in the region to deal with this crisis, but that we have not insisted upon aggressive, vital support from Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, in the war in Iraq? Can we continue this kind of lapsed non-strategy in our dealings with the Middle East?
Very difficult to do over time, but the need for oil and the fact that we do not have a long-term energy policy that would make us oil makes us much more efficient and reduce our dependence on foreign oil. That, coupled with the problems that we're now going to experience more so than ever before in Venezuela, makes us much more unlikely to take any strong gestures.
We're watching world oil prices skyrocket. Families in this country, working men and women, are being hammered because we do not have, in part because we do not have a reasoned, innovative energy policy, our strategy, in part because we are permitting the Middle East and OPEC to drive prices. And we can talk about speculators in the world oil market. Let's say it very clearly what it is. Is it time for the United States to insist on the support of those 22 Arab nations that are at the center of this conflict, even though the absolute epicenter is Iraq?
Lou, I think it's probably not the right time for that. I think that right now they are all intimidated by the Islamic fanatics in their own countries. I think what is clearly now in America's interest, what we must do, is find other sources of fuels. We have to be serious about it now.
Without question.
Right, and I think this is, during a war, we're not likely to get Egypt to stand up bravely. I think that those countries are all threatened from within.
They're threatened from within. But the United States Western civilization is clearly threatened by radical Islamist terrorists. And to see Fuad Signora, the Prime Minister of Lebanon, bravely speaking, but still constrained by fear of Syria itself and Hezbollah and Iran, should awaken every person in this world watching these events unfold.
There's no question. It's time that we get very aggressive in whatever the strategy may be. We can't be held hostage by people we've protected for a long period of time. And I'm not talking about the Israelis, I'm talking about the Saudis and everybody else. And if terrorism is here, the rest of my life and my child's life, terrorism is going to be a part of our existence, unfortunately. And I think that we basically have to decide who our friends are. We have to develop an independent energy policy. It may mean Americans making some very severe sacrifices beyond paying $3 a gallon for gasoline. But at the end of the day, if we don't take and be very strategic about this and put a 10-year plan together, we're going to basically be caught just as we were 20 years ago.
Let me posit this possibility, that it has been an enormous mistake of U.S. foreign policy to continue the long war and to permit the Middle Eastern conflict to exist for more than half a century between Israel and Palestinians. That the military strategy and our national security policy to permit our military to engage in long wars, including, which they now admit, Iraq, is an entirely wrong approach for the world's only superpower, and that we have to come to new terms to deal with this enemy, radical Islam.
The world has to believe that there's a problem. The Europeans are asleep. They don't believe it. They need to believe it, because the rockets that the Iranians may or may not have at their availability, with nuclear weapons potentially, can be sent just as sure as to Tel Aviv as they can be to the center of Europe. That's the problem.
Well, and I think what's going on right now with Hezbollah and with the Iranians may actually work to convince more Americans of the danger of Islamic terrorism. I think that particularly the Democratic Party is kind of asleep on this and doesn't know what to do about it, hasn't figured out its own course. And so I think this kind of event where, in effect, Israel is the canary in the coal mine, Israel is doing the dirty work of taking these groups on, this may convince more Americans that we must all stand up against this group.
And Republican leadership in both the Congress and this White House sent troops, American troops, into Iraq, knowing full well Iran and Syria were supporting terrorism globally, radical Islamist terrorism. Did we go after the wrong country, in your opinion, Ed?
I personally have always thought we went after the wrong country. I always thought there were far greater potential in Iran. There's a younger movement there. I thought they were the greater threat. Everything we've read since we started the war, Saddam wasn't the threat. Saddam was more worried about internal stuff. And I think we're now at a position where we have a very serious enemy there who doesn't feel threatened by us.
You get the last word, Hank.
Gillerman said, when he was just here a moment ago, that Iran is spending $100 million per year to subsidize Hezbollah. You want to cut off the head of the beast, you cut out the oil weapon, and the $100 million won't be there.
Right. And to put that into some context, the United States spending about $100 billion to carry out a war against an insurgency in a nation of 25 people, Iraq. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ed Rollins, Michael Goodwin, Hank Scheinkoff. Up next, radical Islamist terrorists trying to enter the United States could be receiving help from the government of Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. We'll have that special report. And Hazleton, Pennsylvania Mayor Lou Barletta joins us. His town's crackdown on employers and landlords hiring and housing illegal aliens, setting the standard nationwide. Stay with us.
Newsmakers brought to you by UBS, a global financial firm with the heart and soul of a two-person organization, you and us.
Because financial solutions have no borders or boundaries, UBS operates in only 2 locations. Everywhere. And right next to you. You and us. UBS.
Hello, I'm a Mac.
Hello, I'm a PC.
We have a lot in common these days.
We both run Microsoft Office. We share files. It's great. We just get along.
PC? Yep. Okay.
Hi, I'm a PC.
Okay, we're past that. We moved beyond that.
Yeah, I had to restart there. You know how it is.
No, actually, I don't.
Oh, what? Max don't have to.
We had him, then we lost him. I'm gonna go get IT. Keep an eye on him.
Work on that left hand.
Thanks for the dress, Mom.
Simple, everyday moments can be the perfect time to talk to your kids about not smoking, so you don't have to plan a big discussion.
Look, there's a dragonfly on one of the roller coasters.
Just your leg?
A little moment will do just fine. Talk to your kids about not smoking.
Smoking cigarettes can hurt your game too.
They'll listen.
Don't worry, Dad. I won't.
For conversation starters, log on to philipmorrisusa.com.
Anyone can see the obvious, but seeing the potential hidden beneath the surface takes a gift few possess. At Oppenheimer Funds, our investment professionals have the talent to look beyond what is to see what can be. Oppenheimer Funds, the right way to invest.
Carefully consider fund investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Call your advisor for a prospectus with this and other fund information. Read it carefully before investing.
The United States is warning tonight that Venezuela is now actively fueling this nation's illegal immigration crisis. With the help of Fidel Castro's Cuba, Venezuela's counterfeit document industry could also be helping potential radical Islamist terrorists gain entry into this country. Bill Tucker reports.
Terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda, Hamas, and Hezbollah may be no further away than 1,400 miles from Florida, with a front door to America open in Venezuela. In no uncertain terms, the State Department made it clear to Congress it considers the increasing discovery and growing use of fraudulent documents bearing the state seal of Venezuela to be a serious threat to the United States.
I would be willing to bet that just about anybody in this room, except for me, could probably obtain a Venezuelan passport, a legitimate Venezuelan passport, within a short period of time in Venezuela.
The implications were obvious to the committee's chairman.
Let me just make the observation that news reports reflect that thousands of Venezuelan identity documents are being distributed to foreigners from Middle Eastern nations, including Syria, Pakistan, Egypt, and Lebanon. This is certainly not in the best interest of the United States.
In the opinion of those concerned about security, this is a problem that will not go away until passports are made more secure.
We have these threats all over the world in different ways, with passports, with travel documents. We have not had a worldwide effort as of yet to go after the issue head on. And until we do, we will continue to have serious vulnerabilities.
Neither the State Department nor the Department of Homeland Security will comment on the numbers of fraudulent documents they have discovered. Officials so far are also unwilling to say that the document fraud has the official blessing of Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. But they do note with admitted concern that Venezuela has signed a contract turning over the office that issues those documents, the identity cards and the passports, Lou, to Cuba.
Communist Cuba.
Communist Cuba.
Thank you very much, Bill Tucker. Appreciate it. Coming up next here, a look at your thoughts about my interview last night with La Raza's CEO, Janet Murguia. Communities all across the nation so fed up with the federal government's failure to stop illegal immigration, they are legislating on their own. The city of Hazleton, Pennsylvania, leading the way. The mayor of Hazleton, Lou Barletta, is our guest. Next. Stay with us.
Okay, let's do it. Stand by, Wolf.
Stand by, everyone. Come to me. Here's my thing. Cue music. Hold.
Straight to you, Wolf.
Roll to go on track, go.
Last year, Landmark sold the most Fords in the entire Northwest. But it wasn't just because of our low prices. A lot of customers choose Landmark because of our award-winning parts and service departments, where you'll find the most Ford master technicians in the Northwest. They're open weekdays until midnight and on Saturdays. Drop off your car and our free service shuttle will take you home or work, and we'll pick you up again. So come see us at Landmark Ford in Tigard. We're just off 55 at the Haines Street exit.
Where do you want your next home to be? How about here? Near here? Or here? Just come to cbseal.com. See every house in one place. The interactive home search finds everything close to where you want to live. All from the comfort of your home.
Hey, look at this one.
Oh yeah, that's more like it. Looking for a new home? Watch the Tour of Homes, brought to you daily by Coldwell Banker Barbara Sue Seal Properties on Comcast Cable Channel 15.
Hi, I'm the person who didn't save hundreds of dollars by switching car insurance. Yep, I'm the guy. Must be, because every day they tell me about a bazillion people who switched on TV, radio, billboards. They show me entire stadiums worth of people who switched. But Progressive Direct shows you side-by-side comparisons of competitors' rates and services, so you can see if their services are worth the savings. Those gazillion people should call Progressive, because no one likes to be wrong. Think easier. Think Progressive.
What happens when you move Comcast high-speed internet into your house? Well, pretty much everything. Because with Comcast, you get speeds up to 7 times faster than DSL, with free protection from McAfee Security, so you can shop and pay bills quickly and securely. Play games online, stream content, listen to your own commercial-free radio station. Plug into a better network with Comcast high-speed internet. Just $33 a month for up to 12 months. Comcast, the power of one.
Will Mideast violence draw the U.S. into another war? Larry King Live, CNN 9 Eastern.
Tonight, illegal aliens are intensifying their attacks on new local ordinances that punish employers and landlords for hiring and housing illegal aliens. And the Senate's so-called Comprehensive Immigration Reform Bill, once again being exposed as an all-out assault on this nation's middle class and a sham. Lisa Sylvester tonight reports on a provision in the Senate amnesty bill that could force employers to pay guest workers a higher wage than U.S. citizens. Kitty Pilgrim reports tonight as illegal aliens and their supporters protest the tough new illegal alien crackdown in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. We begin with Lisa Sylvester in Washington. Lisa?
Lou, the Senate immigration bill was so massive that senators are only now beginning to get a full understanding of the legislation. There are provisions that were included that some Republicans find downright appalling.
U.S. construction employees working under a federal contract are guaranteed wages significantly higher than the minimum wage. These so-called prevailing wage rates are ensured by what's known as the Davis-Bacon Act. The Senate's immigration bill extends those protections to foreign laborers under a guest worker program. But it went a step further. It also guaranteed the prevailing wage to foreign workers even on private construction projects and in other professions, a benefit American workers do not have. The result? A system where foreign temporary workers could be paid a lot more than American workers.
If a foreign worker on an immigrant permit were working on that job, they would have to be paid $30.27, yet an American citizen working for the same company would not. They might be paid $10 or $15 or minimum wage for that matter.
The provision was added as an amendment ironically aimed at protecting job security of Americans.
Immigrants, guest workers, illegals, what have you, could come in and work for less and undercut natives. This was a way of trying to deal with that, so you can sort of see the thinking behind it. The problem is, of course, that then you get an outcome that doesn't seem to make any sense.
Critics also point to the process. The Senate bill and its attachments are nearly 800 pages, yet the full Senate devoted only 10 days for debate.
A lot of things flew under the radar, but the brilliance of our system of government is it takes a long time to get this done, and as people can read and pull back the layers of the onion, if you will, they'll find some of these things.
The Republican Policy Committee has highlighted this provision as one more reason why the Senate immigration bill should be defeated.
Or at the very least, critics say the Senate bill should be rewritten with an emphasis on border security first. Senator Isaacson today called on the White House to send an emergency supplemental to Congress to get additional money for border security. He added, everyone knows it is an emergency and needs to be done. Lou?
It's just unbelievable. Who came up with the bright idea to do that?
This was originally an amendment by Senator Barack Obama, and as I said, that he originally wanted this to be a job security amendment for Americans, but, you know, the road to hell is often paved with the best intentions, so.
And the Senate would send everyone in this country, every citizen, on straight to hell if they had their way. They didn't read the legislation that they wrote, and it just keeps coming up, creating a requirement to consult with the government of Mexico before building a fence. I mean, it's just one thing after another. If the Heritage Foundation doesn't get involved in this, the Senate would have approved 100 million immigrants into this country in addition to what we have over the next 20 years. I mean, they don't even know what they're doing.
Lou, I'm sure there will be more surprises, too, as the weeks go on.
I'm sure you're going to share them with us here. Lisa, thank you very much. Lisa Sylvester. Tonight, the U.S. Senate is proving once again it isn't too serious about our border security. Just 3 months ago, the Senate agreed to build 370 miles of new fence along our border with Mexico. Yesterday, it voted against releasing $1.8 billion to begin construction. This is the way your Senate works. The amendment to fund the new fencing, introduced by Senator Jeff Sessions, it was defeated by a vote of 83 to 16. 34 senators who voted in favor of new border fences in May voted against funding them in yesterday's vote. Senator Sessions introduced a second amendment that would have made $85 million available to hire 800 new immigration investigators. The Senate killed that amendment as well. Now we have an idea of what the Senate means and this White House means when it says comprehensive. We all get that, Mr. President. Senator Friss, thank you very much. Illegal aliens and their supporters vowing to fight Hazleton, Pennsylvania's tough new illegal immigration ordinance signed into law today. Tensions in Hazleton were so high during last night's city council vote that police were out in force and Mayor Lou Barletta wore a bulletproof vest. Katie Pilgrim reports.
A divided and heated crowd outside the City Hall in Hazleton. The City Council passed an ordinance with harsh penalties for hiring or renting property to illegal aliens. Flag waving, chanting, and singing.
God bless America!
Illegal alien rights groups also gathered. The City Council passed the measure 4-1. The ordinance imposes strict fines of $1,000 per person per day to landlords not holding occupancy permits which prove a legal status of the renter. A 5-year ban on doing business with the city if you are found to employ an illegal alien, and a 10-year ban on those committing a second offense. The measure also declared English as the official language of the city. Mayor Lou Barletta received prolonged applause as he walked into the council meeting. He says he received 8,000 emails from across the country in support of his approach. He defended his intentions, saying illegal aliens drain the city budget and have committed violent crimes.
Over the past month or so, I have been accused of being racist, intolerant, and unfair. But let me repeat what I have been saying all along. Illegal is illegal. We do not care where they come from. We do not care what language they speak. But an illegal alien is not welcome in Hazleton.
Some immigrant rights groups are livid.
We will never convert ourselves into Anglos. We will acculturize. We will learn the language. We will learn the laws. We will follow the laws. But we will never assimilate.
Protesters outside threaten legal action.
The sad thing about it is that this city cannot afford the lawsuit that's going to come against them.
Ed Rodriguez's father came to the United States legally in 1909. He supports the mayor.
I'm not against people coming in this country, but to come in this country legally, not illegally.
This former National Guardsman wants a safer town.
A lot of vandalism in the city and gangs. Yes. Something had to be done.
Today, the mayor signed the measure into law. Now, the law will take effect in 60 days. On a local level, the action is fast. The measure was first proposed only 1 month ago by the mayor. Lou.
Mayor Lou Barletta moves quickly. Thank you very much, Katie Pilgrim. That brings us to the subject of our poll tonight. Do you believe your community should follow the example of Hazleton, Pennsylvania, in cracking down on those who hire and house illegal aliens? Yes or no? Please cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. The results here later in the broadcast. Hazleton Mayor Lou Barletta joins me now. Good to have you with us, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Lou. Glad to be here today.
I thought it was interesting, your opening speech. You said that you have been accused of racism, but what you're doing is protecting a community that has been overwhelmed. What do most of the residents in Hazleton feel about this new ordinance?
Well, obviously, they're very supportive, Lou, and that's what I was elected to do, to defend the people, all the people here in the city of Hazleton, and that's the legal residents that have a right to the quality of life that they have enjoyed here for so many years.
I want to, if I may, share a soundbite. Ana Arias, the president of the Hazleton Area Latino Association, strongly opposed, of course, to the ordinance. She said this. If we could hear that, please.
To me, this is very discriminatory. This is very bigot and racist. Crime is not committed by undocumented people in Hazleton. It's committed by criminals. The mere fact that someone is an undocumented does not turn anyone into a criminal.
Mr. Mayor, what's your response?
I'm very disappointed in Anna and Dr. Lopez, who said that they will never become Anglo, and I'm not asking them to become Anglo. I'm asking them to become Americans. You know, we had a 29-year-old, as reported, who was shot in the head for illegal aliens. A 14-year-old shooting a gun at the Pine Street playground, illegal alien. And today, Lou, right before I came on, we arrested 4 more for selling drugs on that very same playground. And our detectives are spending hours in trying to find out if one of these individuals are also illegals. I've had enough. The tax dollars that the people here in Hazleton pay to us should be used on them, and there will be law and order back in the city of Hazleton.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it, Mr. Mayor, and we wish you all the very best. And coming up at the top of the hour here on CNN, the Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer. Wolf?
Thanks very much, Lou. We're following breaking news out of the Middle East, the new Israeli missile strike in Gaza, plus Hezbollah's vow of all-out war against Israel. As Hezbollah promises to take the fight to Haifa and beyond, Israel continues its strikes in Lebanon. Meanwhile, Israel is fighting on another front against Palestinian militants in Gaza. Our reporters are tracking all the angles throughout the Middle East, and I'll speak one-on-one with the former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and James Zogby of the Arab American Institute. Lots of new developments coming up this hour. Luke?
Well, thank you very much. Look forward to it. Still ahead, the results of our poll. A look at some of your thoughts, in particular on the National Council of La Raza. Stay with us.
People love their hover-round power chairs.
You made me love you.
I didn't want to do it.
I didn't want to do it.
I get embarrassed when people say they love me after I show them how much fun it is to get their independence back.
I love getting out of my house again, and boy, is it easy.
You made me love you.
Hi, I'm Tom Cruise, inventor of the Hover-Round. I can't sing, but I can guarantee you'll love what you can do in your Hover-Round.
I'm amazed at the people who say they love us just because we got them their Hover-Round at little or no cost.
I love Hover-Round because it did not cost me 1 penny.
Hover-round is like riding around in an easy chair with wheels.
You made me love you, and all the time you knew it.
People just love the round design. We say it's round for a reason, so you can turn and get through the narrowest door or hallway.
I love how easy it is to maneuver.
To find out more, call this number to get your free Hover-Round information kit.
You'll also love Hover-Round's exclusive pressure release system with lumbar support, 4-inch thick foam, and comfort ride inner springs.
Each time you fell in love with a Hover-Round and learned how to be independent again. Call this number to get your free Hover-Round information kit, which includes a free video and a free test drive certificate. A Hover-Round mobility specialist will also do a personal evaluation to find the perfect model for you. Call today and you'll also get this special comparison guide that tells you how to choose the power chair that's right for you. There's no obligation. Call now to learn how you may get your Hover-Round for little or no cost.
You made me love you.
Call 1-800-377-9449 today to get your free Hover-Round information kit. That's 1-800-377-9449.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by PartyPop.com, the world's largest wedding and event planning website.
If you're getting married, PartyPop.com has something you gotta see. Online bridal shows, DJs, photographers, catering, bands, anything you need, and it's free. Go to PartyPop.com.
Mayor Barletta was talking about a number of the people in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, calling him a racist for actually putting together the ordinance that was passed last night, cracking down on illegal immigration. These are protesters outside Time Warner, down with Lou Dobbs, immigrant basher. In point of fact, I'm pro-immigrant, calling for more legal immigration. I am very much opposed to illegal immigration. These folks waving signs and protests, about 30 of them outside the May 1st coalition, they're calling themselves, and we just wanted to be sure that freedom of speech and assembly was respected on this broadcast, as we try always. The results of our poll tonight. 96% of you say your community should follow the example of Hazleton, Pennsylvania, in cracking down on those who hire and house illegal aliens. 96%. I'll look now at some more of your thoughts. Hank in South Carolina. Hey Lou, my daughter just got married and went to the Social Security office to have her card changed to her married name. She couldn't do it because she didn't have her parents' Social Security numbers. However, an employer came in with 8 Mexican workers and they were issued a card without a problem. What's up with that? And Daisy in California, can you please stop inviting the La Raza representatives to appear on the show? If I wanted to hear a whole lot of nonsense, I would listen to the president. Marcelo in Illinois, please advise Ms. Margia that comprehensive is code for amnesty and citizenship only slightly delayed. Send us your thoughts at LouDobbs.com. We thank you for doing so, and we thank you for being with us here tonight. For all of us, have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Good night from New York. The Situation Room begins now.